Once hailed as the brightest genius mage in history, his glory is now just a fading memory. Now he is locked away like a criminal, his identity plummeting into darkness. His name is Ryun, a name that once filled the magic community with hope. As the youngest child of the Sermon family, he was the smallest but carried the greatest expectations. The family was once a symbol of prosperity, their reputation echoing across the Re continent. However, from the moment he learned to speak, his fate veered off the normal path. He was cursed by the demon king Akon, a dark mark following him with every breath. From then on, he could not touch swordsmanship or magic. All his powers were rendered useless. That once stable family gradually sank into an inescapable darkness. In the blink of an eye, everything collapsed when his father and brothers, one by one, disappeared without a trace or last words. Just when all hope was shattered, the crack of destiny widened. Rui was captured by the Payton family, dragged into a tragedy with no escape. He was tortured to death, a haunting end in the shadows. But when he opened his eyes, he realized he had left the familiar world behind. He was no longer standing in reality, but seemed to be thrown into another realm. Before him lay an endless battlefield, where heaven and earth twisted into relentless violence. This place is called the Playground of the Gods, a land reserved for the chosen ones. In Adon, the gods summon countless wandering souls. They pull them from across the distant universe into this chaotic place. Then they grant each person a random profession for them to struggle to survive. With the dense population of ancient monsters in Adon, death always lurks nearby. No one lasts more than 7 days. All efforts are crushed. Yet somehow, Ryun has defied the cruel laws of fate. He awakened a master profession, the path to power unfolding before him. The Ghost King helped him master the entire profession system like an assassin, soul caller, and spirit demon, all within his grasp. Thanks to this, Ryun easily survived, overcoming each brutal challenge. He even lasted more than 3 months on that endless battlefield. But his second life also came to a swift end when he dared to confront his destiny. You challenged a god of destruction, a battle beyond limits. And even though you ultimately lost, the mark of your journey is not yet finished. Your story continues, refusing to be buried in defeat. In the final moment before vanishing, your will still burns bright. That God granted you a wish, a gift exchanged for the price of life. When you awaken once more, you feel time has shifted. Ryun returns to when he was 12, back to where the tragedy began. And he still retains the privileges of a player, his power undiminished. As sounds echo in his ears, Ryun gradually awakens from the swirling memories. In front of him is a girl anxiously shouting, her eyes filled with fear as she looks at him. Her voice is shrill. Ryun opens his eyes wide in astonishment. Ryun sits up. Colin is flustered. He is still weak. Don't push too hard. He looks at her suspiciously. Lin, the wet nurse of the Sermon household. Why is she here? And so young. Light shines down on the Sermon building. Could it be? He turns to her. Lin, bring me a mirror, quickly. She awkwardly hands it over. Yes, yes. He takes it, and in the mirror is his face, much younger. Ryun looks at her and asks, what day is it today? She is confused but replies, yes, August 17th, 1892. He stares at his hands in shock. 1892. Sweat pours out. That's right, the year I was 12. Also when flames erupt before him. Within them is a blurry figure. His heart is in turmoil. Small sparks surround him, revealing the name Sermon. The path to doom begins with Payton. The face of the god Adon appears. I grant you one wish. Ryun bites his lip, his heart racing. Am I really back? A footstep echoes, pulling him from his thoughts. An old man enters, glaring at him, pretending to sleep again. Young master. Ryun's eyes widen. He is stunned. Alejandro, the captain of the Sermon Knights, he says. The young master isn't well after all. He raises his hand. So today, we will take a break from training. Colin turns back. I told you so. He cuts her off. No. She looked at him in surprise, unable to believe her ears. Alejandro also couldn't hide his astonishment. Ryun smiled, his gaze resolute. I'm fine, he asked again. So what are we training today? The man frowned, intending to give a break, but since he wanted to train, he replied, swordsmanship. Watching him stand up, Alejandro muttered, Are you really a young master? Ryun picked up the wooden sword from the rack. I am Ryun Sermon. The man was stunned into silence. It was a wish. It was time reversing. The shadow of the Dark Lord from a past life loomed faintly behind Ryun. Forget sword training. Today I want to go hunting. He lit up with excitement. This was the chance to fix everything. The sermon building was bathed in the early morning sunlight. The system displayed level 1, strength 7, agility 5, stamina 3, magic 0, curse, SS, cursed by the Dark Lord, unable to use magic, always haunted by monsters, Ryun thought to himself. Thankfully, I can still use the status panel even though I returned to the past. This ability is unique to me. Alejandro entered. Young master, the monster is ready, and he immediately turned off the system panel. Everyone moved out to the training ground together. In front of him was a goblin screaming angrily. Seeing Ryun, it charged at him fiercely as if it had found its prey. He raised his sword, causing it to hesitate and take a step back. Alejandro, Colin, and the servant stood at a distance, their eyes wide with anticipation. She turned to the man, shouting, "You need to stop the young master. You know just seeing a goblin will make him faint." She was right until yesterday. I was just like anyone else. Ryun closed his eyes, his mind drifting deep within. Opening his eyes, a blue light flared around him. Now I understand. A panel appeared, a warning from the system. The curse had been activated. The system warning displayed. The number of monsters was rapidly increasing. Fear enveloped Ryun, but he stood firm. It turned out the fear of monsters was also part of the curse. Alejandro saw this and tightened his breath. He spoke up to stop him. "That's enough for now." But Ryun interrupted. "No, that's not enough." He stepped forward, and the goblin howled and charged wildly. His face turned pale, fear crashing down without a chance to dodge. He instinctively stepped back, retreating a good distance. Ryun took a deep breath. Forcing himself to calm down, he was no longer the same. Just a goblin, after all. I can do this. The curse is nothing compared to the danger from him. The goblin's eyes gleamed with killing intent, filled with ferocity. The face of the god Adon appeared, full of arrogance. Despite the heavy pressure, Ryun did not back down. He charged forward, swinging his sword fiercely, a green light flashing in his eyes. The slash came down, and the goblin's head dropped instantly. Every gaze froze at the scene that just unfolded. A notification panel appeared, overcoming the curse. The fear had been subdued. The level of the curse was reduced. The sword broke in two, and the goblin clutched its head, rolling around begging for mercy. Ryun focused on the system panel in front of him. "From now on, you will no longer fear monsters," he said. "Please give me a real sword. Can you?" Alejandro drew his sword. Lin's spirit seemed to leave her body. "Young master, you finally..." He turned around, a calm smile on his face as he looked at him. The man blushed, whispering, "You have become a man now." While the family is on the brink of collapse, the goblin trembled at the sight of the real sword. Its whole body shrank. Ryun tightened his grip on the sword, his eyes shining brightly as he swung down. Blood splattered everywhere, but his gaze remained unwavering. Alejandro thought to himself, a glimmer of hope had appeared. He turned to Lin. "You should watch closely." Ryun swung his sword, goblin blood splattering. That image was of a true heir. Light filtered through the window of Ryun's room. He bent down to wash his face. The goblin's blood washed away by the water. In the mirror, a satisfied smile shone on his face. The illusion of his past life reflected in the mirror. The status panel still running. The system still active. I have proven one thing. I can overcome the curse and grow stronger. Ryun raised his hand to call up the system panel. However, the notification pops up, stating that your experience has increased a little. Ryun is dissatisfied. Progress has been made, but it's too little. To level up by defeating goblins, he needs to take down a whole bunch more. He reminds himself to hurry because the cries are getting closer, enveloping the entire clan. Ryun grits his teeth. At least he is sure he has the strength to break the curse. He looks at the system board, telling himself that no matter what happens, he cannot miss this opportunity. The clan is now in chaos. His father and brothers have been missing for 2 years. Despite the danger, the clan still maintains its position. The enemy's plot has yet to unfold. He clenches his fists. Sermine has grasped the first method to level up. Now it's time to try the second method. Just then, a girl with red hair wearing a mask walks in. The sky is clear. White clouds drift lightly, and sunlight shines through the window. In the living room, Ryun sits across from the girl. Sena says, "I have heard about the sun goblin." She is skeptical. But did he really call her here to practice magic? Ryun considers that the leader of magic in this clan is no different from a captain. She is one of the few level 7 mages on the continent, a mysterious woman. No one but the clan leader truly understands her background. Her voice is mocking. Are you really so proud of defeating a goblin? Sena disdainfully says that practicing magic is completely different from swordsmanship. He lacks talent, which is why they haven't trained him. Has he forgotten? Ryun calmly replies, I know. The curse has taken all my talents except for swordsmanship and academics. I can't even sense my magical power, but that was yesterday. What if I say I can sense it now? Sena is taken aback by Ryun's words. The teacup on the table is still steaming faintly. Sena unleashes a move that adds to her mysterious aura. She says, You can open your eyes now. I just painted a picture that can only be seen with magical power. If your words are true, then guess what I painted? Ryun responds, A beautiful red dragon, right? Sena pauses. He asks, Did I guess wrong? She blushes and says, No. She admits he has changed, but how can he understand magical power like hers? He should have seen a different image. Not a dragon. The curse of the clan. How did you break it? I have only taught you to sense magical power. Ryun interrupts her. Sena, I can sense magical power, but I can't use the clan's magical alchemy method. I need your support. Sena turned to him, her gaze serious in a rare way. He thought that, without accumulating magic power, it was useless. Alchemy was the only path. She sighed and asked if he had tried it. But do you understand alchemy means tearing your body apart to channel magic power? I will hold your life in my hands. Ryun remained silent, the corners of his mouth curling into a faint smile. He said, Are you planning to kill me? Sena was startled. He laughed and said, My current body can't withstand you. He thought briefly. The only person he could rely on was her, even when attacked in his previous life. The image of Sena in his memory remained deeply etched and unforgotten. He recalled when his magic power ran out and his body began to disintegrate, but she was still the one standing to protect him until the very last moment. Ryun still clearly remembered those beautiful memories, then softly called out, Sena. He reached out to her, his gaze softening. I trust you more than anyone else. The room suddenly fell eerily silent. Ryun knelt on the floor, his body bare, without a stitch of clothing. The atmosphere was oppressive. His voice echoed. Then, let's begin. The Lamdia alchemy is a direct inheritance. I only know the theory, yet you can execute it. The Lamdia method. In Adon, I once used it to level up and increase stats. Ryun absent-mindedly glanced over, and Sena reminded him. You need to focus, he replied. Yes. She warned him beforehand. The pain will be intense. You must not scream or thrash about. If you can't endure it, think strongly about wanting to stop. Hearing about pain, Ryun mumbled. Pain. Dark memories flooded back. The coldness, the knife-like gaze of suns clearly appeared. The pain was nothing compared to the hatred boiling inside Ryun. He suddenly shouted, I said I trust you. Sena regained her focus, her voice firm. All right. She channeled her magic power, and flames immediately surrounded the entire room. Ryun's body lit up with bright veins, looking far more intense. The Akon curse began to activate. The magic power within him surged out like a flowing stream. Sena maintained her full concentration, just as the master had said, but she had anticipated this. She whispered, I will channel a bit more magic. Now, the Akon curse is activating continuously. The system only appears for you. Akon is draining the magic, but Sena's source surpasses it. The result is clear. Ryun's mind is in turmoil. Even the magic of a level 7 mage can't overcome this curse. But using Adon's method works. Let the curse disrupt the magic, then retain it in the body as it spills out. Deceive the curse and gather the magic inside. Sena anxiously called out. Master, thinking to herself, why can't the magic escape from his body? It seems the alchemy process has taken a different turn. He begins to resist the Akon curse. Notifications keep appearing, Akon is activating and then being blocked. Ryun starts to feel a burning sensation. The magic pathways in his body feel like they are on fire. He gritted his teeth. Do you think I will give up? Painful memories flood back, drowning him. Ryun suddenly realizes, this pain I have endured thousands of times. I am a seasoned player of Adon Coma. He is certain that no one understands magic better than he does. That understanding is not in the body, but etched in the soul. Even as the pain still scorches every fiber of his being. Ryun pondered. Akon, even though I have never met you, but the curse of the Demon King, if it is not from the god Adon, is nothing but trash. The power within you has now reached its limit. Sena remains focused on the immediate target. But this flow of magic is too strong, causing Ryun to gradually lose strength. He collapses to the ground. Sena's panicked voice rings out, "Master!" His consciousness fades. Ryun groans. It hurts so much, but he still tries to endure. The blood from years ago resurfaces. That pain is still deeply etched. The terrible memories of that day cling to Ryun's mind, the words still echoing in his head. Is this the experiment of sermon tomorrow? Let's cut off its hand to see if it can be reborn. Never mind. Just throw it away and return to Payton. A long sword rushes forward like a gust of wind. Suddenly, someone blocks in front of him. The large figure leaves Ryun stunned. Soldiers shout, "Intruder! Stop him!" That night, the moon was full, the wind was still, and it was cold. The space blurred. Thoughts rushed. What just happened? Ryun opened his eyes wide, hearing a warm voice. "You're awake, huh?" Alejandro stood there, covered in blood. He gently said, "I'm sorry for being late." Ryun's eyes lit up. "Alejandro, did you save me?" Despite being heavily injured, Alejandro still tried to stand firm. "Young master," his voice remained warm. "I'm sorry." Ryun was moved, tears streaming down his face. He jolted awake from a long, haunting dream. That dream made him cry, unable to hold back. "You finished refining the elixir. Right, I should be happy. But that memory weighs heavily on my heart. It's okay, that won't happen again. I have a plan. But absolutely no one can know. Especially Payton. I'm not strong enough to confront him yet. Therefore, the next step is to push for the downfall of the Sermon family." The sky was clear today, with white clouds drifting gently over the Sechman roof. Ryun sat up, scratching his head, mumbling, "I failed." "Huh." Sena turned around, her face full of astonishment. Alejandro was also stunned, exclaiming, "Huh." The three looked at each other, the silence making the atmosphere awkward. Ryun pursed his lips, squinting his eyes, thinking to himself, "Even though I feel bad that they came right when I woke up, I can't tell the truth. It's not that I want to hide it, it's just that saying it wouldn't help. Whether they believe it is another matter?" He smiled faintly, tightening his grip, then said, "Everyone expected too much, so I tried, but now I don't feel any magic at all." Ryun turned his hand, raising it in front of Sena. "You check it." Sena quickly stepped forward. "I don't understand why you would deny it, but if that's the case, allow me to check." She immediately summoned her magic, flames bursting forth fiercely. She held Ryun's hand, channeling energy into his body. Soon after, Sena's magic surged powerfully. Her eyes widened, teeth gritted. "What is this?" Ryun just sat still, watching the golden sparks, smiling faintly. Sena released his hand, stammering, "The magic really has disappeared. Yesterday, the magical power was still within me." Sena collapsed in shock and slowly walked out the door, apologizing to the young master. Ryun watched her silhouette, confused, calling out, "Sena." Alejandro felt a bit awkward when he saw Sena slam the door shut. He turned around, raising his fist in encouragement. After all, he had hunted a monster. Just focus on your skills. Ryun trembled slightly, raising his hand to stop him. "Actually, I can't go through that again. After that day, even eating became difficult." "You heard Lin, right?" Alejandro stood frozen after hearing that, unable to say a word. His face darkened in an instant. Time passed quickly. The weather was beautiful, and yellow leaves fell abundantly before the estate's gate. 2 months later, winter arrived, and white snow covered this place. Colin opened the large door and stepped outside. She felt sad, her eyes red, thinking to herself, "The young master hasn't come out of his room today again." The Sermon family was operating without a head. The lady was trying to manage the family, but her strength was gradually waning. A butler asked Lin, "The young master still hasn't come down to room A today?" She replied anxiously. "Yes," he complained. "It's been 3 months since the monster hunt in the arena, and now he doesn't even listen to the head coach." The maid standing nearby added, "They say sudden changes are a bad omen. It must just be a one-night dream." Colin, though scared, argued loudly. "That's not true that day. The young master was just trying to meet everyone's expectations." But someone's voice rang out, leaving her speechless. The Sermon family was in decline. It's not just the people at home calling the young master that. Throughout the kingdom of Darren, people mockingly called him the fool of the declining family. Colin opened her eyes wide, upset. He's only 12 years old. They're going too far, the butler added. High expectations lead to deeper disappointments, especially with a weakened noble family. The maid sighed. Even the servants are starting to leave, he said. I'll quit after this month. Colin, what are you planning to do? The question left her even more confused about the young master. Ryun slowly set the knife down on the table. He thought the food was getting worse, which meant the family's finances were dwindling. Ryun's eyes lit up, the corners of his mouth curling up, just as planned. If it were me before, naive and ignorant, I would have spent all the money to restore the family. But now, the experience from Adon has changed me. I must remain silent and wait for the right time. To let the enemy lower their guard. The time to strike is drawing near. The decline began when the clan leader and the eldest brother disappeared. The group of mages sent to search for them also did not return. And the other brothers were the same. Now, Sermon has neither manpower nor resources to continue. The arena that once buzzed with activity in the mansion. Now only a few weeknights and lackluster servants remain. In the past, the noble family's retainers would come to bond with the successor clan leader. But upon seeing this scene, they quietly left. This way, I can comfortably hide in my room without anyone suspecting. However, the speed of decline is slower than I thought. They say wealth lasts for 3 generations before it runs out. I guess I need to be more forceful starting tomorrow. Suddenly, Lin rushed in, calling out, Young master, it's time for training. The head coach is waiting. Hurry up. Ryun looked at her, his eyes narrowing, gritting his teeth as he observed her. He quickly burrowed under the blanket, mumbling, I'm probably going to lose again today. Lin's expression darkened. Without hesitation, she yanked the blanket off him. Her hand slowly reached toward Ryun. His body was suddenly lifted. It was Lin. She was serious, trying to carry him even though he squirmed slightly. I will never leave the Sermon clan. After saying that, she ran straight out the door with him. Ha ha, really? Outside the castle, the sky was clear, and a cool breeze blew over the stone steps. Alejandro frowned and shouted, Young master, how many times have I told you, don't hold the sword like that? Although he failed, he felt the magical power this time. Next time will be easier. The sword technique he is learning helps gather magical power with just one slash. Ryun's expression fell. It seemed they were not ready to give up yet. He wanted to respond to their loyalty, but he absolutely could not let them know he practiced at night, even with the skill of physical domination. Physical domination, a skill that simulates the state of the body, useful for assassination in Adon. Currently, he could only activate it awkwardly. The system reported. Experience increased. Stamina +1. The system continued to display. Strength +1. Ryun's face darkened. Just thinking about it made him... He dashed away, saying loudly, I need to use the restroom for a bit. Alejandro was stunned. You, young master... A faint aura of vitality spread throughout the room. Ryun stood in front of the mirror. The skill was still unstable. Just a strong movement would break the layer of domination. He felt a bit anxious and opened the status panel. The panel displayed Ryun Sermin, level 3, agility 11, magic power 10, strength 17, stamina 14, curse Akan B. He smirked cunningly. Good. Everything is progressing as planned. 3 months of secret training were not in vain. Once his stats reach 20, he will level up, first like an Adon, choosing the soul profession, while also enhancing both summoner and assassin. Suddenly, he paused. Alejandro has a guest with him. He was surprised. The steward Sermon, Juno Hildo, entered and said, young master, I apologize for interrupting your training session. Juno bowed. Someone sent this to you, Ryun thought, just like before the regression. They delivered the letter right on time. Alejandro's expression turned serious. Is it time already? Ryun opened the letter. The content read, an invitation to the birthday of the second Prince Darren, Kai Darren, in the year 1892 of the Rhea calendar. On that very day, the final piece of the plan will be revealed. On the green meadow, Ryun stretched and yawned. Am I just waking up now? Juno said. Since you set off, you have been sleeping soundly. Last night, Lin had to change your clothes until late, he replied. I understand. Because both Alejandro and Sena cannot accompany him. He continued. Who would have thought a large horde of monsters would appear at this moment? Ryun thought. Indeed, a troublesome time. The task of the Sermon family is to prevent monsters from the Dark Swamp from spilling over to the Dree continent. Alejandro was dispatched to the border. Sena had to return due to a summons from her mother, who was temporarily taking on the role of clan leader. Their family could not refuse. So a 12-year-old kid has to represent the family and head to the capital. Juno reassured him. Don't worry. In the Darren Kingdom, no one dares to touch the legitimate heir of Sermon. Ryun pondered. At least while this family still holds that position. In the past, it was enough to handle a few guests. Now the family is weak. The clan leader must personally attend the prince's birthday. Ryun sat cross-legged, muttering, It's my plan. Just then he said, They have arrived. The capital darkborn, sunlight shining down on the city walls like a painting. Birds still soared in the vast sky. In front of the palace, a long line of servants stood waiting. Ryun stepped out, walking gracefully with an air of confidence. They eagerly welcomed him. Dragon of Dree, we greet you, sir. The second prince, Kai Darren, received him with great formality. Juno bowed. Thank you, Prince Kai. The Sermon family is very honored. Ryun was slightly surprised to hear that, thinking to himself, hosting. He quietly observed from the gate to the inside of the palace. The people's gazes at the carriage were filled with worry. They looked at Sermin with pity, as if he were fading away. Rumors spread everywhere. Look, it's Ryun Sermin, the spoiled child. It's said that the Sermon family is about to fall. Ryun thought to himself. The nobles were whispering and sneering. Everything was going according to the plan he had set. The sky was clear, with white clouds drifting slowly. He hesitated and bowed his head. Greetings, sir. Juno spoke on his behalf, feeling somewhat helpless at that attitude. The people outside were chattering non-stop. Ryun gritted his teeth and muttered, Just dance to my tune. Inside the palace, a voice echoed. Hey, you guys! Two sons spoke up. I came a week early to escort Ryun, right? Gangun replied. He entered the city 5 days ago. I heard he came early to meet the envoy. Haesung whispered. Keep dreaming. Can't you see even with his face covered, he still doesn't dare greet the nobles. The room was as quiet as a tomb. For 5 days, he hadn't said a word, even with the lively banquet, delicious food, and drinks on the table. And there are girls too, one guy eagerly interjected. Gangun remained calm. Seeing everyone anxious, I sent the youngest to persuade him. Just then, Butte rushed in. Captain, he recounted Ryun's calm expression and the message. I will attend today. I hope you all prepare. Butte still stood there, excitedly adding, Yes, after hearing this, Gangun and the two sons felt much more uplifted, but he instructed them to keep it a secret, not to let the steward Juno know. The guards still need to prepare, one person said, and then everyone chimed in. It's fine, as long as he shows up. Everyone will fall silent. After discussing, the three immediately split up to handle things, while Ryun remained contemplative these past few days. He also had time to practice quietly in his room. He thought to himself. Attending the banquet wasn't about the ceremony. His gaze sharpened. His purpose was much greater. Outside, the carriage was passing through the palace gate. Two sons were sitting in the carriage, heading towards the palace. Jiyun had sensed it from afar, murmuring, He will come today. The evening fell, the sky was clear, and the scenery was strangely peaceful. A voice rang out announcing that Lord Zapato had arrived. The palace doors slowly opened, light spilling into every crevice of the columns. Sons, dressed in a magnificent suit, walked slowly into the hall. He glanced sideways as if he had spotted something. Juno was standing there, turning slightly as if to leave. But Sun spoke up. Isn't that the steward Juno Hildo? Juno calmly replied. Lord Zapato has indeed come. The prince will surely be surprised. He continued. I heard the Sermon family arrived first, but Sun smirked and asked, Where has Ryun Sermin's fame gone? Hearing this, Juno frowned, clearly displeased. He asked again, Fame? What do you mean? Suns was surprised. Everyone knows. He lowered his voice. The rumors say Sermon has fallen, especially regarding Ryun. Juno thought to himself, indeed, the 5th-level genius mage, the one Payton had the highest hopes for. But to dare slander Sermon right in this palace, Sun still smiled insincerely. Of course. We can't let such matters exist. I'm looking for the one who spread the rumors to punish them, Juno thought. A 7-year-old alcoholic? A 12-year-old who killed Payton's citizens? The most notorious scoundrel of Rai dares to... Suddenly, a loud shout rang out. "Dragon of Ryun, Lord Ryun Sermon has arrived." Juno was startled. Wasn't this person hiding in his room all day? Ryun stepped out, looking polished and different from usual. His hair was neatly styled, his clothes pristine, and he wore a radiant smile. This caused those around to murmur. So different from the rumors. His demeanor is so bright. Suns was furious, jealousy evident in his gaze. He muttered, "Once again, that sermon stole all the spotlight." He stepped forward, intending to find an excuse to cause trouble. Ryun proactively spoke. "Seed Payton. Right, I've heard a lot about you from Zas." Juno remained silent, observing, and Suns replied, "Raise. The fourth son of the Sermon family went missing." "Right." He paused for a moment before saying, "I know quite a bit about you," Ryun interrupted. "Lord Seed Payton is famously kind. I heard you two studied at the same institute. Everyone knows your name. Even though he only studied for a few months, his reputation still lingers." The mocking words made Suns furious. "That bastard," Ryun continued. "I also heard you saved your friend from being bullied and stepped in to help the girl who was being bothered. What else is there?" Suns gritted his teeth. He was still telling the story about the knee. Juno quickly interrupted. "The story about the knee of young Master Rats. You even brought medicine." "That's right. The night captain told me to send his regards to the young master." The atmosphere was heavy as lead, as if it was about to explode at any moment. Juno immediately pulled Ryun away. "Young master, please come this way for a moment." His eyes still glinted with hatred as he faced Suns. Suns couldn't hide his anger, muttering, "Damn it. Do you dare to threaten me in front of so many people?" Ryun scoffed, thinking to himself, "Go ahead and get mad, you fool. Because your rage is part of the plan I'm about to unfold." The evening air felt heavy, as if it were suffocating every breath around. The piercing screams and the sound of shattering objects echoed from the hall. Suns clenched his lips, muttering curses. "Ryun Sermon, you bastard." In his mind, the image of Ryun was vividly clear, along with the words, "I heard Raz talk a lot about you at the academy. Everyone knows the reputation of Sith." He told himself that Raz knows about me being expelled, even though I used Payton's influence to cover it up, and he even brought up the knee incident again. Ryun's voice seemed to echo. "I also heard that Sith once brought precious medicine to young Master Raz when he had knee pain. The humiliation from years ago made him boil with rage." Sun still stood there, his mind full of calculations, a sly smile on his lips. The image from that time was still etched deeply in him. Raz gritted his teeth. "Seed Payton, you've gone too far," Sun softly said. "Raz, I didn't know that was your lover. I just wanted to ask since I saw a commoner at the academy," he retorted. "No matter who it is, being at the academy, how dare you use magic to harm a female student? Kneel down and apologize to her right now if you have any conscience left. If not, I'm ready to give up my title and kill you." Hearing that, Suns was so furious he was on the verge of tears, grinding his teeth tightly. Then he knelt right in front of Zaz, without any resistance. That memory fueled Sun's growing hatred. He silently told himself, "I must continue with the plan. If Vash is dead, then so be it. At least I must silence his younger sibling." Suns mumbled. After all, he had no way out. A knock on the door echoed. Suns called out, "Come in." The door slowly opened, bit by bit. A man quietly stepped into the room. Suns softly said, "I never expected that the person I would meet tonight would be him." Juno Hildo, the steward of the sermon house, who always stood by Ryun, appeared in Sun's room. On a bright moonlit night, a series of unexpected events unfolded. The caravan continued to roll through the darkness. Ryun Suitu thought to himself, "The banquet achieved its goal, from a notorious scoundrel. I am now the intellectual young master. Not skilled in martial arts or magic, Seed Payton had fallen into a perfect trap." Juno spoke up, only now daring to say, "Your performance at the banquet was truly impressive, making me feel that the hope of the sermon house is not yet extinguished." Ryun asked in surprise, "What do you mean I not only failed to befriend any nobles but also made the Payton house despise me?" Juno paused. "What you did in front of Seed Payton truly pleased me." Upon hearing this, Ryun's eyes flashed with doubt. He waved his hand to execute a technique. Juno called out in confusion, "Young master." He was taken aback and asked, "Why did you do that?" "Young master." Ryun unexpectedly activated a soundproofing talisman and asked softly, The fire hasn't gone out. If you truly thought so, perhaps you wouldn't have betrayed the Sermon family. Hearing this, Juno panicked, realizing Ryun had discovered everything. He still tried to maintain his composure, feigning innocence. "What are you talking about, young master?" Yu softly said. "Your crimes cannot be forgiven." The atmosphere of revelation was colder than the chill. Ji-yun continued, "But because you committed crimes against the Sermon house, I will let you go." Juno fell silent as he realized he was just a pawn in the game. He paused, his mouth trembling. "How much do you know?" Yu calmly replied, "I know that this was unavoidable. So I give you a chance. Listen carefully to my words and choose your path." Juno, confused, silently listened to every word. Outside, the atmosphere calmed down, and the carriage continued to roll steadily. Outside, the air calmed down, and the carriage continued to roll steadily. Ji-yun remained seated, continuing to discuss the ongoing plan. He affirmed that every step was progressing smoothly. Hearing this, Juno could not hide his surprise. "How did you come up with this? How could you devise such a plan? Who exactly are you, young master?" Ji-yun looked straight ahead, his gaze cold and filled with hatred. Juno suddenly covered his face, unable to hold back his quiet sobs. He was moved by every word Ji-yun had just spoken. He choked up. "I want to scream out of sheer joy." The young master smiled and said, "I knew you would choose that. Chief Juno, you have left the royal capital." Juno thought to himself, "How can this child smile when he knows everything?" He continued to observe closely, silently thinking, "No, that is not a smile. That is a sharp gaze, filled with killing intent and resentment." Suddenly, the carriage jolted violently and came to a complete stop. A soldier spoke up. "Why are we stopping? Keep going." He turned his head to find the reason the horses weren't moving. Then he froze upon seeing the eerie scarecrow. He exclaimed, "Huh." The soldiers stood still, stunned by the surprise. The escort team immediately warned of an ambush. "Protect the convoy. Be careful. The arrows are enchanted." The captain ordered, "Mages, create a shield immediately. Dare to ambush the Satchman Yu family. If you have the guts, step out and kneel." A soldier glanced around, noticing something unusual. The escort warned, "Captain, don't approach the carriage without the signal. Your life will be at stake too." The shield was still there, but the shouting voice rang out, "This is not good." The young master had vanished. The carriage was now empty. The captain was terrified, not knowing what was happening, stammering, "What?" The silence of the night enveloped the forest ahead. Juno rode through the night. He stopped, breathing heavily with each labored breath. Behind, Ryun was tightly bound and dragged away, blood splattering along the path. He hung suspended in midair, magic activating continuously, the system signaling an abnormal and weakened state. Ryun closed his eyes, his lips tightening, reminding himself that it had been a long time since he used this. The imposed effects were too strong. He envisioned the panic of the guards. Surely the protectors of Sermon were in complete disarray. Juno urged his horse to run faster, recalling that in his previous life, after this kidnapping incident, the family had poured all their efforts into finding him, the last heir besides his little sister. Ryun furrowed his brow. Then, they collapsed and perished. While I can now take advantage of today's events to steer everything in the direction I need. The panicked face of Uncle No flashed before him. He said, "Disguise. Huh." Pretending to be on the verge of collapse. Facing him, Ryun stroked his chin and replied, "The situation of Sermon is already dire. What if I clearly express my determination to revive it now?" A series of family emblems appeared. The noble families would fear and seek to pressure me, if they united. Sermon currently could not withstand it. He imagined himself surrounded by the gazes of Mu Mo, so I let the rumors spread to show that the last heir is no longer a threat, luring them into complacency. The image of the arrogant sons trampling on Ryun briefly flashed. No matter how the other families were, Payton always wanted to eradicate the seeds of Sermon. The rumors might buy me time, but they would definitely not let me be. Speaking of this, his eyes reddened, his hands clenched tightly. Then I will seize this opportunity. Terrifying images flashed through Juno's mind. Ryun's voice echoed evenly. Sons Payton has fallen into the trap when I mocked him. If he has ulterior motives, the moment I return will be when he strikes. If there are more who want to jump in, it would be even more favorable. Juno's face darkened further. Ryun let out a light laugh. Then he extended his hand toward Juno. "Come on, choose, Juno." What is about to happen will be the climax of Sermon's destruction. Back in the present, Ryun lay on the horse's back. The system reported again. Magic resisting the abnormal state. The Earth Green spell also resisted. His cold eyes opened. All right, everything is within calculation. A low voice rang out, causing him to pause. I'm sorry. Juno trembled on the saddle, repeating, I'm sorry, young master. Ryun paid no mind, saying, just follow the plan, Juno. That is the only way for you to atone. Juno remained silent, only able to shed tears in his mind. Ryun's entire body was enveloped by resistance power, increasing by 1 point, all attributes reaching 20, feeling as if awakening. Sensing the surge of magic power, Ryun opened his eyes. Good, the first growth condition is complete. In a village bathed in the quiet moonlight, Teacher Juno carried Ryun inside. Sun stood waiting, saying, You've worked hard. He led the group of guards forward with arrogance. Oh, I didn't expect you to come yourself. This is a special deal with the steward Juno Hildy of Sermon. He looked at Juno, who was exuding killing intent for betraying his master. Hearing this, Juno gritted his teeth and replied, Hey, that's going too far. Lord Sun's Payton. In the night, Sun spoke sarcastically, sounding like a barking dog. If you betray, just remain silent and wait for punishment. Sun's Mumo held a scroll of paper, information from a reliable source of the Adon family, which had been verified. He handed the scroll to Juno. Is this information certain Adon is a prestigious family on the Re continent, famous for being an assassination clan? The scroll emitted a faint magical aura. They primarily traded information and never sold false news. Suns pointed at the scroll in Juno's hand, which contained records about the whereabouts of the missing direct heir of Sermon, Ryun, who was hiding under a nearby tree. Heard everything. This was the reason Juno betrayed Sermon. He sold me out, the incompetent heir, to find the missing brothers who could lead Sermon. Knowing Asan holds the information, Juno surely won't live long. Payton uses economic power to pay a high price to monopolize this news. After the transaction, Sun stroked his chin and turned away. You can leave here. Your business is done, traitor. Watching him leave, Juno said, Please keep your promise. He paused. Ah, of course. Sun smirked with malice. Your precious young master will be returned to Sermon safely. Juno finally urged his horse away from that place, along with the guards. Suns approached Ryun, bent down to examine him. One of them asked, Should we deal with him? He replied, No need. He looks just like a soulless corpse. Suns laughed coldly. By now Sermon must know he is the culprit. Only when he returns there will the grand plan flow smoothly. Everything is ready. Another guard asked, Hey, will you do it yourself? Suns grabbed Ryun's hair and pulled hard. Of course. I'm here just to see the face of that traitor. In the thick darkness of the night, the mist and wind swirled heavily. Suddenly, a flash of light appeared. Ryun's eyes slowly opened to see Suns' shadow in front of him, seeing him awake. He leaned in closely, his voice low. Hello, kid. Now you understand the situation. Right, but Ryun glanced away, his cold gaze making him uncomfortable. Suns looked at him, chained up, and sneered. How ridiculous. The direct heir of Sermon is in such a pathetic state. Ryun looked straight at him and asked, Suns Payton, what are you doing? He twirled the weapon in his hand, looking unfazed. I have kidnapped the precious seed of your proud Sermon. Ryun's face darkened as he replied. So, do you know what consequences will follow? Suns frowned. Are you threatening me now? He twisted his mouth into a distorted smile. Threatening me again, like at the banquet. Ryun said nothing, just smiled enigmatically. He stepped closer and ruffled Ryun's hair. It seems you heard something from your brother Jax. How pitiful. Then a streak of blood splattered lightly, he said. Didn't he tell you? Suns ground his foot down on Ryun's head. Your father and brothers are all dead. Don't be foolish and seek revenge on Payton. He continuously struck down, applying pressure to force him to submit. Ryun's eyes sparkled at this moment, and Suns growled. You still don't understand why you are here, do you? He pointed at him, laughing mockingly. You should have been protected inside the carriage among the knights. Juno sold you out, trading you for the whereabouts of your brothers. He shouted, No one is coming to save you. Suns tightened his grip and continued. You want to know the consequences? It will surely be war between Payton and Sermon. My capturing you will be the spark. Got it. Despite the pain, Ryun let out a cold laugh. Nonsense. The fool is dead. talking too much. His body began to radiate layers of extraordinary power. Seeing this, Suns widened his eyes in surprise. Ryun transformed back, his body recovering, mana erupting and activating the magic circle. Immediately, multiple magic circles appeared around him. The bright light forced Suns to raise his hand to shield his face. The ground around him was enveloped by Ryun's magic circles. Ryun gazed deeply into the light, thinking he had waited too long to return to this place. Suns opened his eyes wider, sweat beading on his forehead. His legs faltered as if losing balance. In the moonlit night at the old building, sounds echoed. Inside, the magic circle continued to emit strange power. Suns scratched his head in frustration. What is this? Nothing is happening? Ryun's face darkened as he contemplated. Suns stepped forward and touched his head. You dare to pull such a stunt just to buy a few seconds? Ryun smirked and replied, Hey, you fool, I already told you, didn't I? Upon hearing this, Suns froze. Then Ryun's eyes widened with pressure that sent chills through everyone. You talk too much. A magic circle suddenly appeared around Sun's neck, tightening around his breath. Blood vessels bulged, and his neck burst with blood. He panicked, clutching his neck, thinking to himself, My voice is gone. Ryun spoke, cold as a demon. This is the Silence Magic Circle. Now your advanced spells are completely sealed. A mage who doesn't chant spells renders their magic useless. Suns was dazed, unable to believe it. He still tried to raise his hand, attempting to activate magic. He thought, as long as I use a fireball, I don't need to chant. Ryun looked at him with disdain. Spells that don't require chanting only reach level 3. And now, you can't even unleash a damaging blow. This is the trap of the Payton family. Suns intended to attack directly at him. Before the strike, Ryun remained unshaken. I guess you don't want to die. Indeed. You only used a level 2 spell, far below my level. That is your mistake. The strike pinned Ryun's leg. Suns felt relieved. He only needed to injure one leg. But the scene that followed left him stunned. Ryun's leg was healing right before his eyes. The boy's eyes shone brightly. The spell had been dispelled. Suns couldn't believe his eyes and quickly waved his hand to summon another spell. Seeing this, Ryun immediately guessed. This time it's a level 3 spell. What a pity. You just threw away your last chance. He smirked. Did you think I would let myself get hit? In response to the spell, Ryun created an ice circle and counterattacked immediately. The flames were swallowed by the torrent of water. Suns felt something was off with his magical power and quickly looked back. Realizing the problem, he gritted his teeth and fell silent. From Ryun's eyes, 3 barriers shot out, absorbing and reflecting the magical power. Sun's hands burned painfully, the pain piercing to the bone. Ryun said, Any spell that exceeds the limit will be crushed instantly. Your wife's efforts are useless, you fool. Suns was dazed, his head spinning. But then he steeled himself to fight back. Raising his hand forcefully, his eyes narrowed, as if he was calculating. In front of him, the iron chains had been torn apart by Ryun. Watching the last chain break, Ryun said, Surprised for me now. Cutting this chain is as easy as snapping a twig. And by the way, the magic circle doesn't just have 2 ends. As Suns tried to stay calm, another magic circle appeared on his left. It immediately shot a bolt of lightning straight at him, the screams echoing. Ryun merely smiled faintly, full of self-satisfaction. Seeing Suns collapsed on the ground, he prepared to deliver another blow. He fainted, and Ryun slipped his hands into his pockets. Gliding past, Wake up. Suns' panicked eyes met Ryun's shadow, and he continued. This time our roles will be reversed. The room was filled with thick magical smoke. Sun Slim Zim opened his eyes to wake up. He saw Ryun sitting beside him, fiddling with a knife. Awake now, I thought you were going to sleep forever. I was going to wake you up. You have quite a good sword there. Suns realized he was tied up and began to struggle violently. He jerked his hands repeatedly, trying to escape the bindings. Unable to break free, Sun shouted, You... Realizing he could speak, he felt overjoyed, thinking, My voice is back. The bindings on my left hand are just regular chains, not magical cuffs. You fool. So then, he roared, striking out, magical light flaring around his neck. Watching him struggle desperately, Ryun coldly said, Do you think I'm easy to fool? Suns coughed painfully, gritting his teeth in endurance. Not seeing any magic, how could he use it? Ryun stepped closer. Do you think I would dare to fight a mage unarmed? He drew his gleaming sword. I have already carved magic all over your body beforehand. The sword sliced through a few times. Sons asked in horror, "What is that?" Blood gushed out, causing him to become even more disoriented. A strange seal appeared on his stomach. You must know this is a forbidden technique. It's not drawn, but carved with scars. And this effect is created by a blood formation. Remembering the torture from his previous life, he said, "You once used a spell to keep me conscious so I wouldn't faint. Back then, Sons held a cup to lick fresh blood, then used a knife to carve into the body of the 12-year-old child that was me." Returning to the present, Sons panicked. How do you know that kind of magic? Moreover, investigations show you cannot use 3 powers. Ryun turned away, sighing. Thanks to my previous life and experience from Adon. 3 months ago, I learned to refine mana, prioritizing the upgrade of stealth. Other skills were also easy to grasp thanks to the flow channels, a secret I discovered in Adon. Each skill has its own channel. Mana flows into the user's channel to activate it. Only someone who has reached the master level like me can see the flow channels exist, and I still remember all of them clearly. So I don't need to relearn, I just need enough mana, and I qualify to use it. Thanks to the stealth skill, I escaped from Sermin's house, memorizing every nook and cranny of this place. Then I set traps to catch Son's Payton. Thanks for walking right into it. The pain I endured then was from the 3 formations enhancing the pain that Sons intended to impose on me. The cruel memories of Sons shattered, Ryun said. Now feel what you once used on me. He raised the bloodied knife, his eyes never leaving his opponent. Outside, the crimson evening light flickered slightly. Sons, covered in injuries, cried out in desperation. No more. I can't take it anymore. Seeing that scene, Ryun smiled faintly. All right, that's enough for today. Son shed tears. Thank you. But as he turned away, Son shouted, No. Son's face turned to rage. It's not that I spared you, but my family is coming soon. I said that because you stopped. He seemed to guess. Nodding. They will arrive in a week. Sons was surprised. How do you know? Remembering his previous life, Ryujin recounted. They deliberately came late to let you torture me. You ordered your subordinates to return after a week. In the dungeon, the sound of curses echoed. Are you not unconscious yet? My people are coming soon. Ryujin sneered. With your nature. If you knew the Payton were coming, would you inform me? Never. You only know how to beg, buying time to kill me. He realized the plan was exposed and immediately fell silent. The fierce guards revealed themselves. Ryujin made it clear. Your trusted henchman is the finger of Payton. Sons shouted in anger. What do you intend to do? Ryujin coldly slapped him hard across the face. The seal on Son's body took effect. He could only scream in despair. Ryujin leisurely walked away. Keep screaming, I told you. Today I will not touch you. Sons yelled hoarsely, tears and snot streaming down his face, standing nearby. Ryujin in the magic circle tilted his head and sneered. Come on. Get ready to welcome me. Thinking of the guards arriving soon. He knew he would have to confront the elite Payton within the next 7 days. A week later, this place was once again shrouded in silence. The escort team entered. The leader asked, Is this the place? The subordinates immediately replied. Yes. In fact, they thought Sons had tortured Ryujin for an entire week since he captured the child Sermin here, but due to the loss of contact, I reported to you, Akeha. He frowned and asked back. No one could enter for an entire week. They spread out to investigate. One replied, Yes, all entrances are heavily guarded. Moments later, the leader exuded killing intent, muttering. If he was so busy interrogating that he forgot to report, it would be troublesome. He raised his hand to create a weapon. The master ordered that the child Sermin must be brought back alive. He tightened his grip on it, deciding, I will go in. The next one, wanting to stop him, exclaimed, But the leader's gaze turned cold. The finger of Payton always obeys the master's orders, even if it is Payton's own blood. The door in front of him was shattered by his force. Before stepping in, he instructed, I will go alone. The subordinate, flustered, replied, Yes. He shot a quick glance signaling, Stay still out here. Then he entered, walking with an unusual calmness. Each of his steps was slow, as if measuring the rhythm. He observed around, unease rising even though he couldn't sense any magic. Suddenly, countless magic circles of Ryujin appeared before him. A series of attacks rushed straight at him right after that. He raised a shield to temporarily block it and exclaimed, "What the hell?" Then he drew his weapon, pushing his magic. The situation was bad. Sun's Payton must be in trouble. The trap activation signal was triggered. Thanks to that power, he saw all the traps clearly, a trap activated by a magic formation. He broke one and guessed that this person was well aware of the structure here and had a high level of skill. He continued to step through the traps without any harm. Traps were laid everywhere. It was either Sermine or a third party. He set up additional defenses and said, "A double layer of defense," thinking back. "No matter who it is, I will not let them escape." His face became serious. His mind focused intensely. His gaze was sharp as a knife. "I will make you pay for daring to provoke the finger of Payton." In the dark prison, there was not a sound. In the cell, blood stained the floor. Sun's was soaked, his head drooping as if about to fall. Outside, the finger of Payton saw the scene and immediately used powerful magic to break the lock. He looked in and called out loudly, "Young master?" He broke the chains to free Sun's and supported him. "What happened?" Sun stammered. "This." His face was tired, his eyes wanting to close. The finger checked with his staff. The magic power indeed belonged to Sun's Payton. He was puzzled. What on earth happened? While Ryujin was tied up behind him, still playing the victim, Sun's trembled and pleaded. "Hurry and use the recovery potion," the subordinate replied. "We must leave here first. Remember the dense traps on the way in," he said. "The enemy has not shown their face. It is very dangerous. There are many traps ahead." He looked directly at Ryujin. He controlled the young master and the child but did not take them away, meaning the goal was not just to rescue. He rebutted himself. "This child is really crazy, but I cannot abandon the mission." Then, while the finger was still questioning, Sun's painfully pointed at Ryujin. "It is him!" Sun's Payton burst into tears. "The one who turned me into this. It is Ryujin Sermon, that bastard." Hearing this, the finger of Payton silently observed. Then he raised his staff. The power directed at Ryujin. "First, I will use 3 spells to ensure that the child cannot move by anyone else but me. 7th level magic. Perfect binding. Stripping away will. Disrupting. Body and mind." Ryujin appeared behind, closing in with a surge of power. "You are being too cautious." Payton reacted extremely quickly, aiming his wand, immediately casting a fireball. The fireball shot out, hitting the wall. He was suspicious. An illusion spell. Suddenly he coughed up blood. A sharp pain, caused by being interrupted while casting a 7th level spell. He turned around while Ryujin moved and spoke. "The reverse magic flow is uncomfortable, but a grand mage recovers quickly." Ryujin swiftly created a series of illusions. "If you notice something unusual from the start, you should have dealt with me first." Angered, Payton raised his staff high, gritting his teeth. "Disrespectful fool. You dare to use illusions to deceive a master magician like me." Ryujin unleashed his magic power, ready to retaliate. In the midst of the swirling magic, he roared, dispelling the illusions. Immediately, the magic circle unleashed lightning, scattering everything. But Ryujin was faster, dodging all the attacks. He glanced around, handling the situation with great experience. Suddenly, Ryujin's eyes widened, bursting into laughter, while Payton maintained his cold expression. Right after that, Ryujin charged like a lightning bolt, heading straight for him. Before the close attack, that guy cursed, being rude. Immediately, he kicked Ryujin under the chin, blood gushing out. Seeing Ryujin being thrown back, Payton said, "Do you think you hit my weak point?" He created a new fireball. "Even if I burn half your face, the master won't pursue it." Surely the illusion is the last card. If you had any other tricks, you would have used them before charging in. Ryujin lay still, smiling, listening to every word he said. Suddenly, Payton was startled. "Do you really think I only have my fingers?" Beneath his feet was a hidden short sword. Seeing this, that guy's eyes widened in shock. Before he could react, the blade slashed across his neck, blood splattering everywhere. Ryujin merged into the body of Sun's, striking, while he could only mumble. Payton, not realizing, turned to ask, "Young master." Ryujin in Sun's form laughed coldly. "You are so arrogant that I can't help but speak." He smirked and revealed a secret. "Do you know the soul-swapping technique? The soul of Sun's is trapped within me, and due to the master's orders, you cannot strike." Then he glanced at the formation engraved on Sun's body. I had anticipated this. His body still bore the blood formation. Ryujin's body still lay there, not only increasing the sensation of pain but also containing another technique, transferring the soul for timely response. Payton's staff shattered by Ryujin. This was the real trump card. Immediately after, the room exploded violently. Only an iron mask flew out from the rubble. Ryun slowly approached the burning corpse. His body glowed a brilliant blue. Smiling triumphantly, he said, "Got you now." He sat down to search Dirac's body for something. From his cloak, Ryun pulled out a vial of blue liquid. He poured it directly onto himself. The system chimed. The pain-resistant skill activated. Skill level increased. Ryun frowned, suppressing the pain. Muttering, "I have to endure. The wounds from Dirac on Sun's body must be clearly visible." He burst into loud laughter, excitement evident on his face. "Ryun Hector, I did it. I just defeated one of Payton's fingers, a level 7 Archmage." The system panel suddenly appeared beside him. A notification popped up. Mission completed, level increased. He was stunned. A mission. He understood leveling up, but... The system panel lights up, indicating Ryun Sermin at level 15. Ryun smiles with satisfaction. Going from level 2 to 15 is understandable after defeating Dirac, but there's still something bothering him. He wonders if it's because of the last mission, then reminds himself to focus on the task at hand. He conjures a bright red magic circle on the floor. Ryun grabs the corpse's leg and pulls it without hesitation. He places the body on the table and creates a layer of red magic around it. Success will determine the speed of his next steps. The flow channel is engraved in the soul, not attached to the body. Even while residing in Sun's body, he still controls Ryun's magic power normally. Now he just needs to push the magic power into the prepared flow channel. The system reports, level drops by 5, additional activation conditions triggered. A dim information panel appears before Ryun. Shadow is the hidden profession of an assassin. To transition, one needs a clarity of 20 and a magic power of 15 before level 5. He has met the requirements but still frowns at the system panel. He silently calculates that if he still has enough levels, he can try 2 more times. Blue rays of light spread throughout the room. Ryun closes his eyes, focusing all his mind on the magic. The system continuously reports, profession transition successful, additional activation conditions triggered, advancing to the higher profession of Soul Mage, the Hand of Death. The information clearly states this is a high-level profession, requiring a magic power of 20 and belonging to the assassin system. One of the 2 opportunities has succeeded, and the plan was only supposed to go this far. But after defeating Payton's finger, the sudden level increase makes him consider a 3rd job change. He could reach the hidden profession of Phantom Soul, a profession for assassins and soul mages that has opened up sensations. In Adon, this is the strongest profession that elevates him to the ultimate position, and the combined effects are even more valuable. If he can reach the high-level profession of soul phantoms like Shadow and Hand of Death, the key lies in the size of the soul. Ryun contemplates, with his current level, failure would have severe consequences. But if he succeeds, his plan will accelerate like a storm. He no longer has time to hesitate. He smiles confidently, and the system unexpectedly announces level drops by 5. Ryun's eyes snap open, his face clearly showing pain. The system reports that the soul is damaged and needs rest to recover. Purple energy envelops him, and the wave of pain causes him to let out a choked groan. Blood poured from the eyes and mouth, feeling as if being torn apart. Could it be that the 3rd high-level profession exceeded his limits? Suddenly, he seemed to see something, his eyes wide with shock. Memories of Ryun rushed back like a blurry film. He knelt on the table, surrounded by those wearing bird masks. Sons grinned wickedly while grabbing his hair. Alejandro smiled lightly, his eyes filled with satisfaction. Alejandro had once shielded him from a barrage of arrows, and Sena, covered in injuries, still smiled at him gently. He gritted his teeth, trying to keep himself from collapsing under the pain. Ryun was determined. "Hector, even if it costs my soul, I must achieve the high-level profession of the Phantom." A powerful surge of energy exploded from Ryun. It spread throughout the room, light filling the space. The system panel suddenly appeared. The soul met the requirements. The hidden profession was unlocked. He gazed at the system panel, whispering in anticipation. "Please, I beg you." The sound echoed, transitioning to the high-level profession of the Phantom, illusionist. Information about the illusionist profession immediately became clear. Ryun was taken aback, exclaiming in disbelief. Illusionist. Even in Adon, he had never seen this name before. This was the high-level profession of the Phantom, so there would definitely be many similarities. He had achieved all his goals. Now was the time to execute the first plan. The passive skill of the Phantom enhances summoning for the Soul Summoner. Taking down a level 7 Archmage was to serve that purpose, a valuable resource that could not be wasted. If successful, the plan would be significantly shortened, the system announced. Activating the Lich crafting skill, Ryun thought. Normally it would require a level 70 Soul Summoner, but with this material, it was different. The soulless eyes of the corpse suddenly shone brightly. The system notified, Lich crafting failed, transitioning to special undead crafting. Ryun's eyes widened in shock. A thick black mist began to gather. It gradually condensed right before his eyes, taking a distinct shape. A figure emerged, carrying a terrifying pressure. The system confirmed, successfully creating a special undead. He smirked, a smile full of meaning. The system panel appeared. Please name the undead. Not long after, the entire tower lit up, purple light shining through the window. A horrifying explosion echoed, shaking the entire area. The subordinates outside were in a panic. There was a shout. What exploded? They looked in shock at the pile of ruins. Where is Lord Suns? Amidst the ashes and dust, a figure continued to advance. From the explosion, Ryun, taking the form of Suns, stepped out. His subordinates were stunned. Lord. He looked at them with a cold, emotionless gaze. Ryun spoke briefly. It was Dirac's doing. The others were confused. What? What do you mean? He snapped. You fools. I mean, a finger of Payton betrayed me. And you still don't understand. Luckily, I used an artifact to control him, but I can't hold him for long. I need to take Ryun Sermin away from here. You all hold Dirac back. Give me time to return to the family. Got it. Reinforcements will arrive soon. If you can stop him, everyone will be richly rewarded. As soon as Ryun finished speaking, he mounted his horse and dashed away. His figure faded into the darkness, disappearing from everyone's sight. That was the last time we saw Lord. A soldier knelt down, respectfully reporting to Lord Pyrrhus. It was Pyrrhus, a 7th-level mage from the Payton family. He said in a deep voice. Have you found any trace of Dirac? Pyrrhus was furious, crushing the report in his hand. He roared, Is this what you call a report? So only you know what happened that night. The soldier stammered in confirmation, and just as he finished speaking, the soldier behind swung his sword. Without hesitation, the cold soldier continued to slash, ignoring the cries of the other. Virus said that the disappearance of young Master Son's Payton was also a serious issue. If Payton's involvement in the kidnapping of Chief Sermon is discovered, the consequences will be severe. Suddenly, chaotic sounds erupted from outside, then stopped abruptly. The guard shouted loudly, Take another step and you won't be safe. A pair of strong legs stepped forward. The aura from that step made the enemies hesitate. The man continued to walk forward, not striking, but the soldiers around trembled in fear of his power. Under the blue moonlight, Alejandro stood tall and coldly asked, What happens if I take another step? I will wipe out all of you trash, Pyrrhus warned, daring to invade someone else's territory without notice. Do you want to start a war? Alejandro retorted. You are the ones who declared war. Bring Lord Ryun out here now, Virus calmly asked. You are not questioning, but asserting. Huh, Alejandro replied. Humph. The rumors have spread across the borders since a week after Lord disappeared. Isn't this camp set up right here to hide the suspicious activities in that project? Virus honestly replied. We do not know where Chief Sermon is. Young Master Son's Payton is also missing. I hope you will cooperate in finding them, Alejandro growled. Shut up. That statement made Pyrrhus furious as well. Alejandro warned, You must not tamper with the scene while the investigation is not complete. He looked directly at Pyrrhus, his gaze heavy with authority. Pyrrhus immediately took a defensive stance, his aura no less fierce. From a distance, Juno quietly observed, surprised that Payton's soldiers were present, hoping things wouldn't escalate further. Sena turned around, casting a warning spell. Who allowed you to speak? Traitor. The man was so scared that his face turned pale. Not daring to say another word, she continued, If it weren't for young Master's words, you would have turned to ash by now. Shut up. You are only allowed to talk about finding Lord. Juno immediately complied. Lord said he would leave a sign. Sena rolled her eyes, asking, How can we find it in a place like this? He replied. If it were easy to find, Payton would have discovered it already. Only the great earth-green melody of sermon could trace it. Lord had once used it. There must be residual resonance. Although very faint, she chanted a spell, creating a green orb. Through that orb, Sena saw what she needed to find. She found it. She had just finished speaking when she pulled the summoning source closer to her. Juno was stunned, unable to believe what was appearing before him. What was this? A body was suspended in the still air, right in front of them. Ryun had escaped from Suns, hanging from a tree in a state of exhaustion. They immediately understood that Ryun was completely absent from this place. Ungihoak said, they only saw Sun's Payton. Sun's was tied with a piece of cloth around his neck, on which it was written, I am the kidnapper, please punish me. At the same time he appeared, a letter lay right at his feet. Sena quickly spotted the letter placed there. He asked if there were any signs of the master, and Sena signaled for silence. Wait, there is a letter here. Sena read each line carefully. If it were Sena, she would definitely notice this letter. I once wanted to take over Sun's body to destroy the Payton clan, but if the 8th level mage clan leader Payton realizes I switched souls, it would be dangerous. If I return to Sermon in Ryun's body, this could lead to a war between the two clans. Sermine cannot withstand it now. So there is only the last option, before I disappear. I must leave an explanation that makes Sena believe it. Juno curiously asked, what does it say? She silently burned the letter and said, let's return to the Sermon clan. Chief Steward. The letter burned slowly in Sena's hand, turning to dust. A premonition of many things waiting ahead. The red sunlight shone down across the entire land below. Flocks of birds flew freely in the high sky. Their shadows were clearly cast on the layered rooftops. A petite figure gradually stepped out onto the street. A voice called out, Hey Liang, the team leader is looking for you, let's go. Juno and Sena stood there. He asked in confusion. Lord Sena, Sena replied firmly. I have confirmed it. The young boy turned back with a gentle smile and said, Yes, sir. His eyes glimmered with a strange cold blue, unlike before. He smiled softly, just like Rui's line. Time passed, 3 months later, in the capital of the kingdom of Benchoi Fenton. The townspeople were buzzing. Have you heard that Payton and Sermon are at odds? The two kingdoms of Dylon and Penstroy must intervene to mediate. Why is that? I heard that the traitor Payton has captured the last person with the Sermon bloodline. In the end, Sermon accepted compensation from Payton, but the troublemaker has yet to be found. The child who was captured is also missing, so why did Sermon accept compensation? The head of the Golden Line has been missing for a long time. Once a prestigious family, now only remnants remain. The rumors keep spreading day by day without stopping. At this moment, at the Amsat Martin branch of the Fenton Guild, a voice rang out. The last person with the bloodline missing makes the compensation even more necessary. She sat cross-legged, deep in thought, then sighed wearily. Sapphire, a level 2 assassin, lightly criticized the branch manager, feeling bored. It's all old news that everyone knows, Uncle Dunn said. And what about the news that Sermon's butler Churro was executed? He was exposed for being linked to Payton's people. Alejandro immediately dealt with him on the spot. Sapphire asked in shock. The master swordsman on the continent took action himself. Suddenly, someone walked in through the door. Ryun appeared with a calm demeanor. Sapphire said, You've arrived. Lee, he greeted softly. Hello, Uncle Duns, he asked. Are you looking for the branch manager? The room fell silent. Only the light filtering through the crack of the door remained. Sapphire spoke up. Finally, you decided to come today. She held out an envelope and asked, Can you guess what this is? Ryun, a letter nominating you as an official member of Martin. Hearing that, Ryun smiled slightly. He said, After all, there's still one test left, Sapphire replied. That's right. It's your first mission. Right, but for you, this task shouldn't be too heavy. The Asen Assassination Clan, the 4th largest on the continent, in just 2 months at the Phantom Branch, you have surpassed all challenges to reach the final round. Ryun's eyes sharpened when he heard that mentioned. She added, Our branch has welcomed a rare talent, the shortest trial period and the youngest in 100 years. He humbly replied, I'm still far from the level 2 branch manager, Sapphire teased. You're just pretending to be modest. Anyway, compared to our first meeting, your expression is much more natural now. She sipped her tea while continuing the conversation. The image of that night resurfaced in Sapphire's mind. She remembers that night, just 2 months ago, when a boy appeared quietly, in a crowd of not-so-famous assassins. He brought a large sum of money that surprised everyone. That night, Ryun's eyes were filled with a dark aura as he made the assassination request according to her account. It was the first time Saphir met Ryun, and it also marked the beginning of all the mysteries. Ryun said, "Because I heard that as long as there is money, the guild will accept it." After confirming the money, "Everyone treated me like a guest," Sophia said. "It's not just about the money, but because of intuition. I guessed I wouldn't meet a strange client like you again. Isn't it true a boy dressed in rags comes in with money, and even hires someone to take action against himself? That already sounds strange." Ryun ignored that comment and did not respond. He took the letter, stood up, and said, "I will read the letter myself. When the test is over, call me," Saphir replied. "Okay." And Ryun turned and left the room. Their conversation also came to an end. Kan immediately asked, "Did you accept him because of your intuition?" Xavier Bendap said, "Don't joke. The process is clear. That boy completed all the training in just 1 month." Kan said, "Others take 5 to 10 years for those courses." She also praised, "Indeed a talent. You investigated thoroughly." "Right," the guy reported. "Lion. No last name. Green hair, green eyes. Picked up off the street. Raised under the guidance of an unknown teacher. Then one day, the teacher disappeared. He joined the guild to find traces of his teacher, proving his abilities, and then requested an assassination against himself. Thanks to that, he was tested and surpassed the training very quickly." Sophia doubted the information from Lion, wondering if it was accurate. Kan continued to assert that everything was correct. He recounted everything, saying he had been to where he lived with his teacher, a house on the mountain. Kan said there were still signs of people around there. Saphir interrupted, raising many questions. Even if the information is correct, there is something more important. Could Lion actually be Ryun Sermon? Kan hesitated briefly before that hypothesis. Saphir connected the events. The young Master Sermon disappeared. Ryun Sermon. A boy of the same age appeared here right at that time. Is it just a coincidence that I keep feeling uneasy? Kan commented that the likelihood of that is extremely low, and she asked why. He said that Ryun Sermon lacks magical power, swordsmanship, and physical strength, which everyone knows. The tracking records have shown this since birth. The signs of Sermon's decline are embodied in Ryun. How could he be of the same caliber as a genius like Liang? If necessary, I will investigate further. She shook her head. Enough already. One should not waste a talent like you on trivial matters. Focus on investigating the teacher. If he could teach Liang, he must be extraordinary. The room next to Ryun overheard everything. He muttered, "This woman is indeed very perceptive." The abilities of a soul master are convenient, as long as the soul still exists. Ryun can hear everything through their eyes and ears. Ryun whispered, "Status." The badge appeared. Ryun Sermon. Activated class, Death's Hand level 13. He was surprised. The level cost for class change had already recovered. Investing magical power into physical domination also proves effective. Not only does it alter appearance, but it also avoids magical detection. And he could even read the shape sensing skill of a level 2 assassin. And that day, Ryun used soul exchange to enter Sun's body. He received an interesting soul technique and wondered what to name it. Ryun smirked and decided to call it Konak. Konak was born that night, surrounded by a stream of dark energy. He whispered, "What is this?" Strength 7, Speed 5, Magical Power 23, Skills Fade and Soul Shield. Considering both stats and skills, it's not unlike an undead that can grow stronger. He was delighted to suddenly realize this was the ability of a shadow, but the skill description did not specify clearly. Ryun raised his hand toward it, mumbling to see more clearly. The parameters from Konak gradually appeared. He widened his eyes, focusing intently on each line. The system panel popped up. Mission of Revenge. Description. Reward. ? Ryun whispered, "I thought this mission didn't exist on this continent. It's even a hidden mission that requires finding the completion conditions on one's own, after defeating Dirac." A completion notification appeared. The skills of Death's Hand and Shadow merged to create Konak. Ryun thought, now it was just a monster consuming magic power. The experience points were still lacking, but it would be useful later on. That night, the moon was bright. Ryun smiled and said, "Development requires long-term vision." The moon hung high. The wind stood still. Ryun sat on the high wall, his gaze contemplative, unable to focus solely on the present. from a distance. Uncle Dunst approached and asked what he was thinking about. Ryun replied, I think after passing the test, I will become an official member and one day become the branch manager of Payton. Uncle laughed and said, at this rate, that's quite possible. Uncle Dunst suddenly stopped, looked into the distance, and continued speaking. Today, there are 3 candidates and only one will pass. The final test to become a level 5 assassin of Martin. Uncle Dunst called out the names of the 3 candidates, one of whom was Bala. Lip stepped forward with a cold gaze and a serious demeanor. He continued, as long as one person kills the target, they will become a member. Ryun stared intently, his eyes filled with determination. Uncle announced loudly, the test begins now. Dunst closely observed every action during the test. He explained the rules, starting with the target information. The target's name is Orach, 47 years old, a merchant, always accompanied by 3 bodyguards. 2 of them are bronze-ranked warriors, and 1 is a silver-ranked mage. Bala spoke up. I heard he just married a young mistress. He visits her room every night, and at that time, the bodyguards keep their distance. Dunst praised. Just by hearing the name, you investigated that thoroughly, knowing even the habit of avoiding the bodyguards. Good job, but who can be sure he will go to his mistress's room tonight? Hearing that, Ryun hesitated slightly and said, about that. He continued, or are you? The rookie. Planning to take out all 3 bodyguards, Bala hesitated. Well, that, Dunst said. That's why Martin sent someone to gather information. Now, it's the last turn. He called Lion, asking if he had any information. Go ahead. Ryun sighed and replied, do I have to say it? All 3 looked at him, waiting for his answer. But Ryun refused. This is a test to select one person. I have no obligation to share information. Bala exploded. We just shared. Lip grumbled. Right. We are teammates. Ryun coldly said. Teammates, I never learned that in training. Bala and Lip were surprised. What? Uncle Dunst agreed with him, saying, that's right. This is a test. Use all your abilities to get through it. You must know how to apply what you have learned. He thought to himself, knowing when to give up or take advantage when necessary is the true killer instinct. The kid answered like a true professional. Dunst asked if the 2 had anything else to say, to which Bala and Lip quietly replied, no. He signaled immediately. Now you are free to assassinate the target. He watched Ryun, thinking to himself, I am starting to have high hopes for him. He stood there, continuing, calling for the assassination of that girl. Sapphire spoke up. This mission mobilizes 4 rank 4 and 3 rank 3 operatives, limited to Phantom, with a deadline of 3 days. If successful, there will be an additional reward of 100 gold, but if you fail, we must accept Lion, granting him special training at the Phantom branch of Payton. After hearing this, Uncle Dunst clicked his tongue. This is insane. The soldiers scoffed. 3 days? That's ridiculous. Try to escape, and in 10 minutes, we'll drag you out. But when they returned from the mission, both Uncle and the soldiers were exhausted, reporting failure. That kid used traps and tricks that were quite formidable. She smiled and said, a deal is a deal. Lion, from today, I will train you, Ryun thought. Becoming an official assassin for Payton is not easy, especially with a target chosen by the branch manager, the highest difficulty ever. Perhaps I am standing at the threshold of a new chapter in history. That night, the moon was bright, the wind was cold, and the sky was silent. Bala burst out of the building, shattering the glass. He thought, I just broke both the alarm spell and the trap system. Dodging the guards and sneaking in successfully. Now there are mercenaries as well. The guard shouted loudly, there's an intruder. It ran that way. Don't let it escape, causing Lip to remain on watch. She thought, stupid Bala, but thanks to him, my job is easier. If he hadn't drawn attention, I would have had to create an opening myself. The target had survived many assassination attempts, each time he had hidden away. The master bedroom, where both inside and outside were heavily guarded. A gruff voice rang out. This is too much to bear. Kami Hector not only took a concubine, but now brought assassins along too. Alrock explained. No, my love. The assassin is not my fault. This room has high security. Lip looked from above, thinking. The defenses are definitely stronger than before, and the number of hired soldiers has increased. The main bodyguard was lured away by Bala, leaving only 5 regular soldiers around. She was preparing to strike. I could attack head-on. Alrock shouted in panic. What are you doing? It's very dangerous. Put that down. Lip bent down to assess the situation upon hearing that. Cammy, trembling with a knife, said, "Brother." I tried to hold back. "I remember the day you whispered that you loved me, but I can't let you take money from my family anymore." He quickly explained, "I just lack business capital." She angrily said, "You used my wife's family money to buy gifts for your mistress." With that, Kami acted, leaving Orok no time to react. Lip witnessed everything, utterly shocked. She saw Orok lose his life in an instant. The murder weapon was stained red with blood. Kami stammered, "What have I done?" Orok collapsed to the ground with a deep wound. Kami stood frozen as a voice called from outside. "Ma'am, what's going on?" Lip thought quickly. The target is dead. So is the mission a success or a failure? She suddenly wondered. Why hasn't Lion appeared yet? The space fell into silence once again. Lip returned to the gathering point, lowering her head to report, "Mission failed." She choked on her words. "It was Orok. He was killed by the first wife, not us." Ryun calmly turned to look at Uncle Duns. Lip found it strange and glanced at Ryun. Probing, she thought. Why did Lion appear before me? Did he arrive at the villa at the same time as us? Bala also returned, covered in injuries. Dun said succinctly. Bala returned safely. Bala replied, "It was because the bodyguards were in disarray that I managed to escape. When they chased Pala, they ended up fighting each other, creating a path for him to run." He continued, "The test is over, but the assassination was not a failure." Duns announced shocking news. Lion has completed the mission. Everyone was stunned upon hearing this. One person asked, "Do you mean the mission was a success? Aurush was clearly killed by the first wife." Duns explained that it was thanks to Lion, which left the group even more confused. He looked at Ryun and pointed, saying, "It's Lion." Ryun used a technique to make Orok's first wife take her own life. Duns continued. Bala in the car was stunned, and Lip was also frozen, staring into space. Duns reiterated that Lion had made Orok's first wife act on her own. He asked, "Can you explain how you did it?" Ryun thought they expected him to answer for sure, but how was he supposed to say it? He chuckled lightly and said loudly, "I will explain." Lip and Pala nervously looked towards Ryun. He stated, "The key point lies in the relationship between Orok and his first wife." The sun was setting, casting evening light over the castle. Bala asked Milan, "Did you exploit the internal conflict? Did the branch manager only reveal the target to you?" Ryun sighed. "The moment I found out was just like you two. He is too famous." Based on the information the two provided, Auroch was involved in the liquor trade, had taken a concubine, and the levels of the bodyguards and the concubine's bedroom were accurate. But I had already investigated everything beforehand. While you two were discussing plans, I was just following the existing plan. Hearing this, Lip and Bala were astonished, and Bala was irritated. He said, "You claimed you didn't know the target, but now you say you've investigated Auroch. That's unreasonable." Ryun replied, "I never said I only investigated Auroch. I gathered information on all notorious individuals who could easily become assassination targets in the city, by befriending merchants and spreading rumors effectively. And since I completed 2 months of training in just 1 month, I used the remaining time to prepare for any potential targets." After hearing this, the two had to think that he had studied the entire book, not just the exam part. Ryun continued, "During my investigation, I discovered someone who hated Auroch intensely. That was Ken Lee's first wife. I approached that woman who had been pushed to her limits, and subtly suggested that she should hire an assassin. Auroch continuously took concubines, disregarding his first wife while using her household money for business. Kelly hated him so much that she wanted to take action, but honestly, she didn't want him dead. I told Kelly to hire more guards and increase security. Auroch would be safe, only the concubine would be at risk, and when something happened, he would always run back to his first wife's room, the safest place. At that point, she just needed to blame the concubine and the lover. He would come to his senses and return to her. That woman, who drank all day, believed every word I said. If everything had just stopped there, she would have been satisfied. But just before the action took place, he added one more thing, that the money Auroch used to buy gifts for his mistress recently came from his first wife under the guise of investment. Chudansky was astonished. From the very beginning, this kid had controlled the entire test. No, this had been in his hands for a long time. Lip and Pala were stunned, unable to say a word. Uncle Duns wondered, but he didn't understand why an ordinary woman would have the guts to kill her husband. Ryun chuckled softly, as he had intervened a bit. He secretly mixed alchemical drugs into the wine and sent it to Orok's house, just in case something unexpected happened. He even put that drug into the drinking water of the mercenaries. Luckily, he acted in time. Lip asked, "What kind of drug is that?" He replied, "It's a stimulant that reduces thinking ability." Bala was stunned. Could it be that the mercenary fight was also due to this? Ryun said. Yes. Even though he didn't study teamwork, he didn't want anyone in the guild or training group to die. Bala blushed after hearing this, feeling emotional. Lip, standing next to him, also felt choked up. Duns concluded. Everything happened just as he had arranged, thanks to the drugs and that information. Lady Kenley took action against Orok, Lip said. There's no need to stab someone to call it assassination. Duns smiled, congratulating him on passing the test. Lion. Ryun laughed. Oh, and we can charge an extra fee from Kelly. Duns was stunned. Huh. He explained. Kelly is now a murderer, but the assassination incident was real. Only we know Orok was killed by Kelly, not the assassin. In that position, Kelly would definitely want to spend more money to hide the truth and blame it on the assassin. Duns was dumbfounded, speechless. Bala swallowed hard, thinking, he is truly different, Lip thought to himself. With a killer's mindset. He is on another level. He would rather take second place than confront Lion. Dun said, you two go back to the guild. Lion will stay. I have personal matters to discuss. Lip and Paula left, leaving the two behind. Duns was silent for a moment before speaking. Do you understand what you've just caused? Kelly will have to live a lifetime in torment for killing her husband. She is no longer an ordinary person, but a murderer. The guild trains assassins, not to create monsters. Ryun turned his back, laughing coldly, before knowing why Orok continuously married mistresses. I also thought she was as normal as everyone else. All of Orok's mistresses were dealt with by Kelly. Orok also ran a casino, lent money at high interest, and dealt in flour, causing many people to suffer. Kelly used her family's influence to clean up the mistresses without needing to act herself. Orok knows well, but still marries a concubine, even though he knows they will eventually die. Their bodies are staged as missing, and their families can't find anything, continuing to search endlessly. This is what you discovered during the investigation. Even if it's a test, it's still an assassination contract. Although Kelly doesn't want her husband dead, we only get paid when Orok dies. Whether the target deserves to die or the circumstances of the employer are not the assassin's concern. Right. If an assassin lets their conscience interfere, are they still an assassin, killing for money and then sitting down to analyze the reasons and ethics? Is that necessary? Duns looks at Ryun with astonishment. Kelly never said she didn't want to kill her husband herself. She intends to exploit this situation. They must complete the contract in their own way, and even if she lives with guilt, she cannot separate the assassin from Orok's death. Duns asks if an assassin doesn't need a conscience. And you respond, if a person wants to maintain their humanity, they must become stronger to change their fate from the root. Even though Sir Dunsday tries to regain his conscience, once he accepts the contract, nothing changes because he is still involved in the assassination. Saying that, Ryun turns and walks away, leaving Uncle Duns in deep thought. The next morning, in front of the guild's base, everyone stands at attention in neat uniforms. Saphir laughs loudly to congratulate, stating that from now on, Leon is a rank 5 assassin and a member of Gildamartin. The system appears to announce that the mission has been completed. Ryun's body is enveloped in a faint blue light. The announcement continues, stating that the level has increased and the side mission is completed. Everyone looks at him, clapping and cheering in congratulations. The system presents the rewards after completing the mission. Saphir says that from now on, as a rank 5 assassin, he can accept official missions from Matan and apply for a rank promotion when eligible, although he probably doesn't plan to promote early. Ryun unexpectedly completed a single mission worth over 30 gold. Saphir gasps. Huh, Ryun adds. Or complete 10 rank 5 missions, or be nominated by a branch leader or a rank 3 assassin. That's the promotion condition. Right. Saphir nods. That's right. Then asks, so how much is the payment for the Orok mission this time? Hearing that, the group gets angry. What are you planning to do? Ryun ignores them and continues to ask, how much is it? His way of questioning and his momentum leave Safia unsure of how to respond. She reluctantly says, advance payment of 10 gold, completion payment of 10 gold. Bala and Ryun are both extremely surprised. She added that, the amount of gold, combined with hiding the fact that Aruk was killed by Lily. Duns, upon hearing this, broke into a sweat. It couldn't be true. Ryun covered her mouth and smiled faintly. Even if it was just a test. All eyes turned to him, silently listening to what was next. But completing the mission and earning extra rewards was something he had to manage on his own. The first requirement for leveling up is a single mission worth over 30 gold. Hasn't he already achieved that? Saphir glared angrily, gritting his teeth in response. Ryun Fertler stated clearly, I am a rank 5 assassin, Leon. I request to be promoted to rank 4. Those words left both Saphir and everyone else speechless. Saphir was provoked. He was indeed overly arrogant. Ryun did not back down, smirking. She said she acknowledged his performance, but he was underestimating all of them too much. An organization always has principles and rules. In the assassin world, only those ranked 4 and above are considered true. Everyone must accumulate experience, be recognized by their peers, and take pride in reaching that position. Saphir pointed out in protest. He was belittling all of them. Ryun's promotion conditions may have been met, but this approach only provoked a strong reaction from everyone. She said she would pretend she hadn't heard anything. He must be tired after his first mission. Ryun immediately interrupted her. No, he would not withdraw his request for promotion. Saphir narrowed his eyes. If he wanted to live peacefully here, he needed to be more considerate. Uncle Dunn spoke up. The branch manager could be said to be overstepping, but as an observer of the exam, he wanted to contribute a few words. Saphir looked at him silently for a moment before nodding slightly. Go ahead, he continued. He believed Leon was qualified to take the exam for promotion to rank 4. Not because he was arrogant, but because he had demonstrated the most important aspect of this exam. She asked back doubtfully, the important aspect. He explained that it was pure physical strength, not trickery, but assassination skills based on one's own body. Lip and Pala thought to themselves, but he won thanks to a plan. Dunn stated that the exam for rank 4 could not be passed without physical strength. This was an opportunity to see if Leon had the ability or to let him taste bitter defeat. People began to change their minds. It was true. During the guild chase, he also used many traps to escape. Saphir, upon hearing this, covered his mouth and smiled faintly. Fine. She agreed to open the exam. Rank 4 is a challenge that even veteran assassins must risk their lives for. Saphir asked with a dangerous smile. Are you ready? She and he tightened their grip. Ryun confidently replied, yes. As night fell, light spilled from the house. Dunn slammed his beer mug down on the table. Truly a person who makes others' hearts race. He looked at him across the dining table and said, You're being reckless. Bala chimed in. You must have a new target in mind to act like this, Lip added, and you must have a plan. Right. The rank 4 exam wouldn't be for at least 1 or 2 months. Iridiza brought out drinks. Duns asked, since you need to choose a target and a suitable mission. Do you want me to train you beforehand? Ryun replied, declining. He wanted to rest before the exam. Lip and Pala shouted. A refusal, Ryun continued. He planned to leave the guild for a while. As a full member, he could leave the branch territory. You're right. Duns nodded. That's right. Ryun said he would return before the exam, and news could be checked at the Payton branch. Duns unexpectedly asked, So is that your plan, Leon? He wiped the milk around his mouth, smiling mysteriously. Tonight, the sky was full of stars and quiet. Inside, Duns raised his cup and said, Just do what you want. Drink freely tonight. Laughter echoed from inside. They shouldn't force Leon to drink, Ryun thought. Moments of leisure like this would be hard to come by in the future. From rank 4 onward, he would receive missions continuously. No more freedom. If he wanted to be the branch leader, he would have even less time. Before diving in, he needed to take a trip. That night, Ryun donned his cloak, preparing for a new journey. He stood on a rocky outcrop, gazing at the meadow before him. He confirmed to himself that he had set foot in the land of darkness. In that deadly place, Ryun could not hide his excitement, his eyes filled with determination. In another direction, a group of horsemen galloped quickly. It seemed to be a squad escorting an important figure. Leading them was a young man with red hair, Colonel, riding a tall white horse. As the group moved straight ahead, the Colonel suddenly stopped. He saw someone sitting in the middle of the road in the distance. It was Ryun. He barked gruffly. What are you doing? Ryun calmly shifted. His left leg was in a wooden splint, looking like someone who had just been injured. He began to slowly remove the hood from his head. Connell was stunned when he clearly saw his face. It was Ryun, transformed into a pitiful child with red eyes, choking back tears. I twisted my ankle. "Can you give me a ride to the village ahead? I'm so tired. I can't walk anymore. If it gets dark, I'll be in danger." So I'm sitting here, hoping someone will help. The young man, upon hearing this, scratched his head in frustration and cursed. "What a brat!" Then he shouted, "Do you want to die? How dare you block a noble's carriage if we have an urgent mission? You're done for." Ryun smiled gently. After a moment, he continued to act innocent, looking up and asking, "Since your voice is so calm, you must not be in a hurry." Right. He reasoned that if he were on official business, the man would have chosen the main road, not this one. What a brat, he thought. With tears in his eyes, Ryun clasped his hands and pleaded, "Please help me. Consider it a good deed, just this once." The man could only remain silent. Even the horse turned its head in helplessness. Suddenly, the carriage behind them turned on its lights. A voice called out from inside, "Colonel, let the child get in the carriage." Hearing this, he snapped back in protest. "Absolutely not." The person in the carriage persisted, suggesting, "Then can it ride with the horse?" Immediately, Ryun was lifted and sat on the colonel's lap, leaving him completely stiff. The people in the group giggled and teased, "Captain?" What a perfect match, making him blush. The colonel then asked, "What's the kid's name?" Ryun quickly replied, "Leon, I came from over there." Upon hearing this, the colonel said, "Thanks to that kind girl. You were saved. She's the young lady in the carriage." He didn't forget to add, "Meeting my young lady is a great fortune for you," causing Ryun to smile awkwardly. In his mind, Ryun calculated that this wasn't luck, but a plan. The rose emblem, the symbol of the Rose family, green rose, to accompany her before the trip. He had researched the route to avoid danger. He discovered that a member of the Dahl family was also traveling the same way. That family had lived peacefully on the Fan's Choi border, but after the head of the family died, she was forced to leave her hometown. Being a minor noble, the escort wasn't a true knight, just the family guards of Zeus, who were then knighted on the way to legitimize their status. At that moment, the green-haired guy sighed. "Oh my, does the young lady have to suffer like this?" Others nodded. "Yeah, it's all because of..." At the same time, Ryun was also thinking about the downfall of the Rose family. The green-haired guy frowned and exclaimed, "It's all caused by the Sermon family." Ryun recalled that according to the information he had gathered, the death of the head of the family led to Sanju's exile. Suddenly, he wondered, did the Sermon family really have a hand in this? The green-haired guy was rebutted. "There's no way it's the Sermon family," but he argued, "I heard that. The Sermon clan killed the head of the family to cover their tracks." Ryun was stunned to hear this. Is it true? Late at night, the moon rose high. The whole group set up a temporary camp in the forest, starting a fire, pitching tents, and taking a break. Another group was leading the war horses to prepare a resting place. The remaining group took the opportunity to cook soup and catch a quick nap. Ryun also leaned against a rock by the roadside, relaxing for a bit. Then he reflected, connecting what he learned today. The Rose family collapsed due to recent conflicts between Sermon and Payton. Sermon belonged to the kingdom of Dylon, while Payton was from Fenstroy, which was in opposition. However, the eldest son of the Zeus family became a knight of Sermon, linking the two houses. While on a mission at the border, where monsters roamed, he was killed in action. The Sermon family promised to support the Rose family greatly in his memory. Many nobles, envious of the Zeus family's progress, allied with Payton, Sermon's rival, and took advantage of the chaos to act, spreading rumors that the Zeus family was a puppet of Sermon. It was rumored that the Sermon clan eliminated the head of the Zeus family to silence him, while Zeus protested his innocence, claiming that Arganiga was the true mastermind. But under pressure from Payton, he had to relent. With the head of the family gone, the daughter-in-law's house fell apart and was forced to leave their homeland for Dallon, where the situation was well understood. Only Colonel remained, a knight who had just been appointed. Along with a few loyal survivors, they were closely following San Jose, but they were just a makeshift guard group hastily gathered by Colonel. Ryun suddenly thought of Miss Sanju's. This journey of exile would be extremely arduous. In the quiet night, the knights took turns keeping watch. The green-haired lady was able to catch a moment of peaceful sleep. Outside, the pig was recounting old stories, along with the gaze of the second child of the Egon family directed towards the lady. It turned out that the troublemaker was not Sermon, but rather Payton and Adon. This exile was made possible thanks to the Sermon family requesting asylum from the kingdom of Dylon. Ryun sat nearby, silently listening and taking the opportunity to snack. Colonel regained his spirit, laughed, threw a branch into the fire, and said that the Sermon family was still committed to providing support. After hearing the whole story, the group felt more uplifted, with the green-haired one excitedly saying that the Sermon family was kind. So, let's raise our glasses. One person noticed Ryun and shared more soup. Asking the little one if he wanted more soup, he nodded immediately. Yes, sir. And that person inquired further. You must be bored since this doesn't concern you. Right, Ryun just smiled and replied that it was very interesting, while in his heart, he thought he was more involved than they were. Then Ryun gently expressed his concern. But is it okay like this? Going into exile and bringing along a child like me? While also hearing all this, the knight paused and seemed a bit annoyed, as if he thought Ryun was calculating the whole situation to ask for help, causing Ryun to flinch and avoid. Another person quickly spoke up to ease the tension, saying it was fine, thanks to a little sharing. Colonel was feeling more at ease now. The green-haired girl interjected. After all, the one suffering the most was still the green-haired Lady Rose. Ryun nodded slightly. That's right, the focus is still on Sanju. The colonel and the group of knights probably hadn't realized the severity of the situation due to their inexperience. Ryun closed his eyes, thinking about the future and the dangers approaching. Then he remembered the sinister faces of Payton and Adon, since they had teamed up. They surely wouldn't stop at just killing the head of the Zeus family, especially the second child of the Adon family. Not even 20 years old yet, and already involved in 3 assassination contracts from those wanting to deal with him. He truly was a terrible person, but I turned them all down because it wasn't worth it. That alone was enough to show he specialized in bullying the weak. I've heard that he is always on guard, making it very difficult to take action against him. Ryun shuddered at the thought of what would happen if such a person targeted a young lady. This was no time to sit around leisurely in the camp anymore. Suddenly, Ryun sensed a figure lurking on the distant cliff. He rushed to check another position for a clearer view. This time, the feeling was stronger. There was indeed someone following him. He hesitated, wondering whether to take action or not, but they had likely already sent all the information back to their mastermind. It would be better to set a trap to slow down their pursuit. A little while later, when he returned, the whole group looked at Ryun in surprise. Hey, kid. Why is your hair all muddy? He forced a smile. Oh, I just slipped and fell. The knights didn't suspect anything. They just advised him to rest if he was injured. Then everyone left, unaware that he was hiding a dimensional tool. He had dug several holes along the way. Calculating carefully, he had set enough traps to slow them down. And he had gathered all the information he needed. So he would probably just accompany them to the next village. Consider it a repayment for the soup. He felt at ease to sleep. When the sun rose high the next morning, the group continued their journey, and Ryun said goodbye to the knights. Thank you all for letting me hitch a ride here, the leader asked. Are you heading to the Dasong village? Why go near the dark region? Ryun confidently replied. It may look like that, but I also do small trading. I buy monster materials in Dasong and sell them on the other side, the bald man said. The paths are different now. I guess we have to part ways. Suddenly, the leader handed Ryun a small vial. Ah, this. Drink it before sunset. The lady instructed me to give it to you. He asked in surprise. Lady, is this really a gift for me? Through the carriage window, the green-haired Zeus smiled and waved goodbye to Ryun. The colonel scratched his head awkwardly and continued. The lady also sent a message, thanking you for giving us a bit of peace. Ryun was wide-eyed in disbelief after hearing that, but then he understood. It was time to say goodbye. Thank you. I'm really leaving now. The colonel replied. If you need help, find us in Dylon. Oh, never mind. Even if you need it, don't come. The bald man laughed. The captain only said that, but he is very kind. Even without the lady's orders, he would still help you. He is just a bit cold. The colonel heard this and shouted, What are you still doing there? Hurry up and go. Ryun quietly watched as everyone drifted away. He looked down, staring intently at the small vial in his hand. Then he opened the bottle cap. He drank it in one go without hesitation. Only a few drops fell to the ground. Suddenly, a loud explosion echoed in the distance, smoke billowing up. Many hooves rushed towards him. It was a large army, completely masked, running past Ryun, leaving him unable to comprehend what was happening. He quickly analyzed. There were 6 pursuers, plus 2 mercenaries, 2 novice swordsmen, each muscular, and a troublesome mage. He glanced at the one with a prominent aura, the other masked. Surely a noble. It was the second son of the Adon family, Ruta Adon, who was currently smiling triumphantly. The two brushed past each other in an instant. Their gazes met, as if they understood each other well, and each immediately calculated their own plans. Ryun quickly glanced, memorizing each member of that group. Watching them drift away, the atmosphere around him fell silent once more. No more noise. He silently assessed. The pursuers were stronger than he thought. Those traps probably weren't enough. Perhaps he still hadn't paid off the debt from earlier. On top of that, he had also used that vial. Looking at the empty bottle, he was stunned. This was a high-grade recovery potion, at least 20 silver per vial. Ryun forced a smile. He told himself. Something so precious was entrusted to a kid he had only met for one night. The lady was truly extraordinarily generous. In reality, the Zeus family had no way out. Those people would capture Son Zeus and finish off the remaining ones. What he did might slightly exceed the value of a bowl of soup, but counting the potion, it could be considered a deposit. If they catch up to the carriage, there would be more deaths, so I need you to help me with something. After that, he activated his magic and summoned a mysterious creature to appear. The creature had just taken shape, and the magical light had not yet faded. He immediately commanded it. The first task was to eliminate him. Meanwhile, the group of knights had moved away a short distance. But then, the sound of hooves from behind grew increasingly urgent. Cornell immediately became alert, sensing something was off. He shouted loudly, urging the horse to go faster, while the knights were still in a daze. Cornell turned his head, reining his horse close to the carriage, quickly telling Miss Rose to endure, not to worry. The blue-haired knight asked, "Captain, why the sudden rush?" Before the question could finish, Colonel's expression changed, shouting, "The pursuers are getting closer. Those with mana are right behind us." Colonel pointed ahead, shouting, "The border is right in front. Run fast." He called out, "Chaku, Gain, if we get caught, you two take Miss Rose across the border immediately. As long as we get to the border, even Aegon won't dare to act against Dylon's army." The entire group immediately accelerated at Colonel's command. He charged ahead, preparing for battle. Chaku, the blue-haired knight, was still unwilling, while Gain gritted his teeth and nodded, promising to meet at the border. Colonel lightly tightened his face, then sighed softly. Then he turned his head, pushing aside his fear, ready for a decisive battle. "I am the knight Zeus. The Aegons are not worth fearing." The scene changed. The pursuing group from Aegon was still racing ahead. Ruta suddenly halted, his eyes flashing. A sword swept across the ground, blocking the way. A decisive voice rang out. "Stop!" Colonel remained undaunted, shouting, "Who are you? Daring to chase after Rose's carriage, get lost. If you don't back down, I will behead each one of you." Ruta laughed in delight. The soldiers behind him showed no signs of fear. He smirked and asked back, "Behead, huh? Do you think being called a knight means you can do whatever you want?" The man raised his hand, removing his hood. His face became clear, leaving Colonel stunned, stammering. Ruta Aegon, a swordsman behind, panicked. "Young master, don't reveal yourself." Ruta laughed. "Sooner or later, I will have to kill them all, except for one." He smiled sinisterly, his voice cold. "Capture her before they reach the border." The subordinates received the order without delay and charged forward on horseback. The colonel hesitated, immediately drawing his sword and taking a defensive stance. It wouldn't be that easy, but as he swung his sword, the colonel felt as if he was striking at an illusion, the blade passing through the enemy without any force. Among them was a mage, at least of level 2. The colonel choked, spitting blood, and collapsed. On the other side, Ruta laughed loudly, saying, "Don't worry. My knight will take care of everything." The colonel coughed violently as a figure slowly approached, standing in front of him. It was a familiar face. Ruta said coldly, "This is your grave." The colonel couldn't believe his eyes, staggering to his feet and shouting, Why is it the former captain of Rose? Ruta interrupted immediately. For money, of course. The House of Zeus has fallen, and I don't want to starve. Consider it a game. Let's cooperate a bit. With that, the troops immediately surged forward. Two people who once fought on the same side were now pointing swords at each other. Gunnel was still unwilling, asking, "Have you abandoned the code of chivalry, R?" Sisu replied coldly. "The world has changed. Cornell Friend's choice has no place for chivalry anymore." In a moment of carelessness, he was disarmed by the former captain. He said coldly, "Surrender. War is coming. And with your potential, you still have time to find a new master." The colonel refused to back down, roaring, "Shut that ungrateful mouth," Gruta interjected. "Then let's finish this quickly and leave. By now, they must have caught Sandao." The tip of the sword was pressed against the colonel's neck. He remained calm, saying, "Is it just you?" Just then, a sword slashed from somewhere. It struck the back of the soldier, causing him to stagger and fall. Ruta gritted his teeth and quickly turned his head. A green creature hovered right in the air. It was Konak, arriving just in time for the decisive moment. The soldier had no time to react and shouted, "Who dares?" The creature did not answer, launching another wave of attacks. Hundreds of arrows shot straight into the Adon formation. The explosion shook the entire area violently. The mage was setting up a barrier for Gruta, panicking. "Even though I try to block with mana sword, it's too powerful." As for the soldier, it was worse. He took a direct hit, leaving his limbs twisted and his mouth spitting blood. The demon now appeared to be an incarnation of Ryun. He wore an arrogant and triumphant smile. Near the border, the chaotic battle continued to rage on. The landscape was devastated, with bodies strewn about and blood soaking the earth. The San Jose carriage's wheel was broken, and its horses had fallen. Chaku and Gain, though covered in wounds, were still desperately holding their ground. They shared a silent understanding that their forces could no longer hold the line. The Egon mocked them. "Are you guys just trying to play hero for show? We'd rather not have to cut you down, so you'd be better off just leaving quietly," as Gain panted, saying, "Our forces are no match for them." A voice from the carriage called out, "Stop." The young lady stepped down from the carriage, calling out, "Gain Chaku." She told them they had all done their best. A surprised Gain tried to stop her. "My lady, if you come out, you'll..." Suddenly, Zandao drew a dagger and said, "I will go with you, so please, spare the lives of everyone else. If you don't," she threatened, "I'll end this right here and make you regret it." She pressed the dagger to her throat, her gaze as sharp as ice. "I'm sure your master wouldn't want things to end this way, would he?" Brutal looked at her and sneered. "It seems you're mistaken. Until you reach Darren, you're neither a noble nor an ally to us." Hearing this, she froze, her eyes wide with shock. He continued, "What I mean is, I have no reason to listen to you." While Zandao was still reeling from the shock, another man lunged forward, grabbing her by the hair and snatching the dagger away. "Do you have any idea what happens when you defy a Mononite? I'll show you the consequences." Seeing the dire situation, Chaku and Gain could only scream, "My lady." Just then, Zan closed her eyes, bracing for the inevitable pain. From a distance, a figure shot forward like a bolt of lightning. It was Ryun, who had been limping just moments before, now landing a kick that sent the man's jaw sideways. Zan stood there, completely stunned, a tear freezing halfway down her cheek. Ryun landed with incredible presence, having taken down an Aegon soldier with just one strike. Seeing this, Ruta rushed forward, his voice urgent. "You there?" Ryun ignored him, glancing down at the man at his feet with a sneer. "I was planning to get paid for medical expenses, but beating up this kind of trash will leave me with plenty of change." He raised the dagger and glanced over at Zan. "Hey, since you already made a down payment with medicine and food, do you want to pay the rest to hire the assassin?" "Martin," Zan was taken aback, exclaiming, "Martin, the assassin?" Ryun just smiled lightly, his expression relaxed, as if waiting for her to remember on her own. Bruta realized first and shouted, asking why he was helping the Zeus family. If it were Martin, he would be the direct heir of Asanma. At that moment, Zan suddenly understood. He belonged to the Stone Assassin organization. She immediately seized the opportunity, speaking quickly. "I will pay 30 gold. Ryun grinned wickedly. Quick reaction, but he replied directly, "That's too little. 30 gold is only enough to kill that knight." Zan was stunned. Ryun continued, wanting to deal with the former captain of the Zeus family right away. Plus a level 3 mage. This amount is far too low. Bruta's face turned pale, sweating. He hissed, "You bastard." Ryun coldly stated, "You'd better answer quickly. If the contract isn't settled, I won't stay." Zan was in turmoil, remembering the one who had protected him. If this guy escapes, the exile plan would fall apart. There was no turning back now. She thought of the family flag, her hand tightening. If it meant saving the Rose family, then she trembled but resolutely made her decision. All of it. Biting her lip, she braced herself as if swearing to live or die. Then she shouted loudly, "Everything you want, please, I beg you." Ryun laughed joyfully, gripping his hood. Then he pulled it down to reveal a fiery expression. "I accept." Yuta looked down. This guy is an assassin and dares to show his face. With one hand holding a dagger, Ryun attacked while responding. Assassins shouldn't reveal themselves. That's just the thinking of the weak. True assassins never make mistakes. After saying that, he shot forward like an arrow. In the blink of an eye, only a green flash was seen slicing through the air. The landing point was just a spray of blood, so fast that there was no time to see. He stabbed the dagger straight into Bruta, not giving the old man a chance to react. Ryun continued, "So even if I reveal myself, I still hold my head high." Everyone was stunned by the chillingly neat finishing move. Zan looked at that boy, thinking to himself, "My first contract with William Martin. The price was the entire Zeus family." Ryun smirked. "I need to establish my name." Bruta sprang up, shouting, "Don't talk nonsense. Do you think we, the swordsmen, can be easily taken down?" Then he burst into mocking laughter. Ryun frowned. "We..." Just then, from behind him, a swordsman charged forward, swinging his sword. "Die." The wind howled fiercely above, swirling the air around the battlefield. Ryun dodged the attack so quickly that his figure blurred in midair. He landed safely, while the other managed to regain his footing. He turned to scold Bruta, asking how long he planned to stay down. He reminded him tensely that their opponent was the assassin Martin from the Etsan clan, and they could not afford to be careless. Bruta regained his composure and coordinated with his teammate, growling that the request from the clan was a mistake, using the sword technique of position swapping that their brothers were proud of. He cast a cold glance, stating that he would make the opponent regret it, and both charged forward simultaneously. Ryun smiled slightly, letting out a mocking remark. "Oh, really?" He activated his body, accelerated, and charged straight at the two in front of him. His kick was quick and decisive, completely disrupting their formation. They were thrown into chaos, mumbling, "Is the clone technique a magic skill? But why can't I feel any mana?" The leader attempted to counterattack, shouting, "Aha!" But Bruta shouted to stop him, saying not to attack recklessly and to coordinate at the right moment. They couldn't distinguish the real body among the illusions. Ryun smirked, saying, "You're too late." He appeared right in front of Sermon, causing him to look around in confusion. Brutal headland. Is the clone technique a magic skill? He was filled with doubt, wondering why he couldn't sense the flow of mana. At that moment, Ryun had already glided behind him. Sermon panicked and swung his sword wildly. Forcing Ryun to momentarily retreat, Bruta shouted, "Stop attacking recklessly and coordinate the counterattacks." Ryun slid in front of Bruta and softly said, "It's too late because I've activated the skill to weaken your physical senses." A stream of green mana swept through his eyes and nose, causing Bruta to grit his teeth. "Is this a curse skill? Do you also possess the abilities of a soul master?" A sound erupted along with a choked cry amidst the swirling dust. In just a few exchanges, both had collapsed, unable to continue fighting. Ryun waved his hand, dust swirling in the wind, telling them to contain the pain of the wronged souls from the Zeus clan. The sun gradually set, casting a golden glow across the mountainside. Their bodies were covered with red cloth and placed on horses. Heavy footsteps left long traces after the intense battle. Kenyu appeared, his body exhausted but still wearing a gentle smile. "Miss." Zan burst into tears of joy, asking if everyone was hurt. Hearing the call, Zan turned around. "Camille." She held his hand with deep emotion. "He really is okay." What a relief. Ryun just smiled lightly, his gaze unreadable. Kenyu looked over at Gazan and Chaku. "Are you both all right?" Too, Chaku was stunned. "Could it be that you defeated those pursuers?" Kenyu frowned and scolded. "Do I look that miserable?" Both of them panicked and waved their hands. "No, I meant..." He leaned to reveal Konak behind him. We received support from a mage. He was excited, killing the traitor and the mage, and capturing that Garuda too. Zan watched the scene and asked softly, "Could it all be thanks to—" Ryun lowered his eyes to the glowing formation beneath his hand. He raised his hand to activate it, and the formation burst into bright blue light. Konak vanished, while Gruta, losing his magical power, collapsed to the ground motionless. Kenyu turned to him and immediately recognized. "Huh. You are Leon. Right. Why are you here?" She chuckled lightly. "That kid claims to be Payton's assassin." Hearing that, he was startled. Payton. He sighed, recalling the scene of the mage collapsing. Indeed, it truly serves that mage right to be defeated so humiliatingly. Ruta, battered and bruised, paused upon hearing that and exclaimed, "Payton." He joyfully pleaded, "If you spare me, I will pay back double the amount they promised. No, triple." Then he turned to Zan and grumbled, "You crafty green-haired one. But the rule of the stone rule is to only accept gold, not people." Right. Ryun felt annoyed listening to his rambling. His hand twitched slightly. Too noisy. A flash of a blade swept through, and Garuda was taken down in an instant. He barely let out a cry before helplessly falling down. Ryun brushed off the mana still clinging to his hand and looked at the two. "Just handing over the money. How dare you treat me like a lowly assassin?" He stepped in front of Zan and gestured. "Miss Green Hair. Do you remember what reward you promised Payton never lets go of those who break their word?" Ryun emphasized with a slight threatening gesture. "Surely you understand how an assassin operates by now." "Right." She trembled from the aura he exuded. "Of course." But Ryun suddenly changed his mind. "Oh, I won't ask for it right now. I understand the situation of the Zeus family, but—" Zan began to sweat as it trickled down her neck. Ryun smiled. "If you send a payment request of 30 gold to Payton, I would appreciate the rest as a verbal agreement." She nodded immediately. "Oh, all right." Ryun turned away. Now it's time to stabilize his mind and continue the journey. This pile of corpses. Payton will handle later. Just claim they were attacked by robbers, and that will be fine. Gazan and Chaku looked at him with grateful eyes after those words. Both smiled while Kenyu nodded, handling things quite neatly. He thought for a moment and then spoke. "Lion plus Ryun." Ryun heard his name and turned around. He snapped his fingers, and mana lifted his body into the air. Then he disappeared before their astonished eyes. Chaku exclaimed at the sight. "He vanished, didn't he?" Looking at the lingering mana, Kenyu whispered, "A Payton assassin. Huh." He waved his hand, softly saying that might not be the whole truth, and upon hearing that, Zan perked up. He analyzed. Lion claimed to be an assassin, but the Luandis he summoned was not an ordinary type. Kenyu recalled the creature and its compressed magical power. The explosion during that attack was indeed extremely powerful. He remembered Ryun's eyes, that being even knew how to respond, albeit briefly. The expression of interest and a hint of madness from that creature flashed in his mind. Kenyu continued. Moreover, he even reduced both the soldiers and the mages. His voice slowed, almost blending into the sound of the wind. Zan stepped back in fear as he recounted the story. Excitement gradually appeared on Kenyu's face. The one who could control undead of that level. A name shone in his mind. It must be the legendary soul summoner, Veda. That face was now just a skeleton, with thick mana pouring from its eyes and mouth like his mark or that of his apprentice.